go.
I like to think Joe Rogan doesn't have Windows, so.
I know. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting, man. Originally, we wanted to do it out of our basement, but then it was kind of like, do I really want people coming into my basement? It's just kind of weird. It's not as like
Professional, I guess.
Yeah.
What do you got hidden in your basement?
Right. I don't have anything in my basement. Good luck. I think I have a roommate down there somewhere. Sometimes. I don't even know when she's there.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, this has been pretty fun. It's been pretty exciting. It's kind of weird asking people to come on, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of just like, yeah, like, do you want to just come and hang out for an hour while we talk about something random, you know?
Dude, I was all for it.
That is awesome.
See,
Yeah.
in my field, I talk to people. People don't talk to me. So
Okay.
it's like, it's kind of nice to just answer questions. Or
That's
whatever.
kinda cool.
Like,
Nice. Okay.
I came in with no expectations. I was just like, whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens.
And I
For
feel like that's
sure.
the best way to do it, man. And that's kind of why we wanted to have you on. I thought that was pretty interesting. Can you explain what you do for a living?
Yeah, I have a master's degree in counseling psychology. So I right now I work with teenage boys in a residential facility, so they live there,
Oh,
and anywhere from 13 to 18 years old. And well, actually, the day they turn 18, we have to discharge them. We can't have any like legal adults, but it's usually dual diagnosis, which means they have substance use and mental health issues.
is this like a juvenile thing or is this like a...
No, this is like bougie camp. Like literally,
Okay.
Okay.
these kids. I mean, our program is stupid expensive.
Okay.
Like more than 10 grand a month.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm dealing with some really
Yeah.
high-end families, clients, and
But it's like a boot camp.
Interesting.
no, not at all. Like they literally, we do adventure therapy. So like once a week we'll go out into like the mountains or like whitewater raft, climb ropes. Like
Oh, what?
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That doesn't even sound like a job.
yeah. Well, I mean that's just once a week. So tomorrow, for example, we're actually going to do 2 hours at the farm, and then we'd go to a rock climbing gym in Fort Collins for like the rest of the day.
Oh,
Wow.
what? Okay.
So it's gonna be pretty dope. But other times it is like we go on hikes, and like we have kids that hate hiking, so it's like pulling
Yeah.
teeth all day, and it's
Yeah.
like I have to like remind these kids that people spend thousands of dollars to visit Colorado to do what they're doing, and they're bitching about it. So like, but sometimes it's not all that fun. But that's just once a week. The other 4 days of the week, I do individual, family, group therapy, and a ton of crisis intervention. Like these kids are always doing something stupid. So
Okay.
like I basically have to block out 4 hours of my day once a week just to like deal with stuff like that is unpredictable. Like we had a kid climb on our roof and jump off it, like to go steal stuff from a gas station.
What?
Yeah.
Oh
so-
my
Yeah. So like it was like a 15-foot fall too. Like,
Wow.
like, I don't know, man. So like have to deal with that every once in a while. But
Just really wanted some munchies.
yeah, they go for other things too. Like they found out that you can get like if you take enough Benadryl, it can be a hallucinogen. So like
Wow.
Damn,
But you
dude,
have
this is crazy.
you have to get to like a pretty lethal dose to like actually get any effect. So it's just miserable. But I mean, these kids have like really serious addicted minds, so they do just about anything to get high. But the goal is like abstinence, like stay off drugs, sober living, recovery. I really try to like focus on family reunification, which is like get them back in their home and like if they can communicate with their parents, like even if they relapse, at least they can talk about it, you know? So,
Is there like a certain set of patterns that you look for or like what is it that you're saying you're trying to get them back in their home, right? Like,
yeah.
how do you do that?
Ton of family therapy. I mean, the honest truth is a lot of these families do not know how to talk to each other. So like,
Okay.
even just getting them to be able to like say like, hey mom, when you did that, it made me feel upset because, so like, it's like an I statement. I felt
Okay.
blank because blank. And,
So basbasically what you're saying is communication is key.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm not gonna dive into that stare you just gave, but
Sorry, yeah, I guess this doesn't need to be a therapy session. Let's I don't want to start a fight. So
Oh,
parents and kids, like they're always beefing because there's so much. But if you're trying to solve 40 problems at a time, nothing's gonna happen. So we try to get down to one thing and really figure out what's the underlying issue and then talk about it. And most people don't want to be assholes,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Like if they can actually know what's wrong, like they usually want to fix it. And of course there are assholes in the world that are just like whatever, but you should probably cut off those relationships if you can, So
Yeah.
Yeah, some people like conflict,
oh yeah, definitely.
That's pretty wild. How did you get into this? Like, what led you to all this?
I had a pretty crazy childhood. I'm one of 8 kids.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I have 5 older
Wow.
sisters. My parents got divorced when I was like 8, and they still can't talk to each other. So like 20 years later,
Okay.
like they still can't talk. So it was pretty interesting. I went to Pittsburgh public schools, and I was one of like 2 white kids on the football team. And like I was also like the only stupid white kid in my school. So I was in like the bottom tier classes, and I was the only white kid in like all my classes.
Oh, geez.
I was in like, they called it mainstream.
Oh
So I
my
was in the
gosh.
mainstream classes where like basically if you didn't sleep, you got a C.
Show up.
Dang.
Okay.
No, if you showed up and slept, that was a D. But you could sleep and get the C. So.
Dang, what?
But no, I literally in 10th grade, like I had like a big like self-intervention, I guess. But like I was in class and like my teacher gave me a fill in the blank paper. Like she was like, "This is your essay for like the book report," and it was fill in the blanks. So like you only had to put like crazy. But I guess long story short, I quit the football team and immediately went from like a really popular kid to like no one talked to me in high school, and like the teachers actually noticed that I seemed like depressed, and so they actually made me talk to the school social worker, and in like 3 conversations with him like completely changed my life. So yeah, it was, I don't even know like if he did anything special. He was just like, he really helped me see that like I think I had such poor self-esteem and confidence, and like he helped me just see that like life's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
And like that conversation just really helped me. And like when I went to college, like I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I wanted to like help people. So like I was one of the generic people that like all the academic advisors hate in college, where it's like, I don't know what I want to do, I just want to help,
Yeah.
So I ended up at Penn State, New Kensington, which is like a branch campus, but it was
Okay.
kind of cool. I switched to soccer. Like between my junior and senior year, I quit football, played soccer. I lost like 65 pounds.
Dude, it's all
Dang.
cardio. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I actually got like a mini scholarship for soccer to go to
What?
Oh, what?
this branch school. Yeah.
Dang.
So yeah, so I don't even know where I'm going right now, but how I got into the field. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I was there, like I really clicked with my academic advisor, and he told me to major in human development and family studies, which it's pretty close to psychology. But psychology is a lot of like theoretical stuff. So you like really study like Freud and Piaget and all those people. Human development I really liked because it was like, if you have a kid who's suffering with this is what you do, which I was like way more interested in. Like I don't really care about Freud and his cigars and things like that.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So I worked with that degree for like 2 or 3 years and got some really crazy stories about that. But basically after like working at a job where I just have scars on my body for $13 an hour, like I was like,
What?
inpatient mental hospital. So I worked there for about a year and a half.
It's like an internship?
No, this is my first job outside of college.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah,
so you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in it for like $13 an hour, and like literally, I mean, I've been like spit on. Like, I used to carry like a towel to like block literal crap getting thrown at me.
Dang.
And, like I have teeth marks on my arm right here from when I
What?
got bit. And,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, a lot happened there, and I was like, I don't think I'm making my high school social worker proud of this job.
Like, this is exactly what I wanted to do. That's crazy.
So
I can't even imagine.
it was tough. I got a ton of stories.
And you lasted years there?
About a year and a half.
Okay. That's a long time, man.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got 20 days of PTO a year because they knew it sucked.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, basically, every paycheck you got a day off work, so you could basically take a day off like every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they didn't like when you did that, but
Like, dude, I need it, man.
no, I mean, you really do. Yeah, I actually took like a month off at a time. So like,
geez.
I'd have like a sabbatical where like I would just be like, like I'm just not gonna come to work for a month. I hope that works. And
Yeah.
I mean, my boss is super cool because she knew the job's really difficult. So
Oh man.
but yeah, so I was there for a while. I quit that job and then I worked at a school for children with autism, and I was a one-on-one teacher's aide, and I was working with this 15-year-old who, like, I was told he was like super violent, and like the last staff, he broke her hand, and like
Wow.
yeah,
Whoa.
he was like nonverbal, hyper ADHD, and had TBI, traumatic brain injury. And like he couldn't even like use the bathroom or like feed himself. So,
Mm.
Oh, Jesus.
but he was my boy. Like, like so, like they gave me this interview. I'm like kind of scared because I mean he was probably like 5'10" and probably like 150 pounds. Like he was a pretty big kid.
Oh.
Whoa. Okay.
And he was ripped too, because like all he did was like flex and slam things. So
Oh
like
my
he was just like
gosh.
working out all day. But no, like I love that kid. We ate basically like they just said like keep him like safe was like the goal, and he had like academic goals of like just do this, this, or that, and it's a school year, so like August to May, end of May, June, and I met all of his academic goals by December.
Oh, what?
And yeah, like we rocked it. And
That is amazing.
yeah, basically like I just liked him. I don't think he ever had someone who liked him before.
Yeah, yeah.
So like he was like always angry because he was with staff that were like scared of him. And like he would always try to squeeze people, and like one of my favorite things was to handshake him and just squeeze the fuck out of his
Oh,
hand.
jeez.
And like he loved it, but like I'm sure it didn't like feel good. But yeah, we just did stuff like that. And like actually one of the main things for like people in that population is like give them a purpose. And like I helped them create a job task where I was drinking a ton of Snapple back then. So I'd Snapple facts, and I would just like type up the Snapple fact of the day, and like he would go around and like hand it to teachers at first. But then we got it to the point where like he could eventually like go in a bag, take the letter out, and put it in a mailbox.
Oh,
nice.
what?
Yeah. And then the community where we were like knew about the school, so they were always about like helping out. So eventually we started walking around the neighborhood and like handing out Snapple facts. But
That's awesome.
like it was probably the most rewarding work I ever did. Like it was
Yeah.
really cool. And like even the mom like loved me. Like she was like there's actually like ethical guidelines about like what I'm allowed to accept from like families. But like she was always getting me like Christmas presents and like stuff
Aw,
like that.
that's
And like
awesome.
You're like, I don't need a new car.
yeah, I wish, man. I wish. I probably have to moonwalk away from those
Yeah.
guidelines.
Yeah.
But
That's
no,
crazy.
Yeah, that was cool. But even still, like I'm getting paid like $12 an hour to do that job, I think. And it was just like I have a ton of student loans, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so fast forward again, I end up in grad school, and
And this is all happening in Pittsburgh.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I only moved out to Colorado in November of 19. So I was here for like 3
Oh.
months before
Okay.
coronavirus happened.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like I really haven't experienced Colorado like outside of
No.
COVID.
Oh,
Yeah,
dang.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still pretty fresh here. But yeah, I went to grad school. I had a couple internships. Like my favorite one, I worked at it's called an IOP, intensive outpatient, and it's basically 3-hour therapy sessions a week. And
Dang, those are long.
Yeah.
yeah, it's group therapy though, so it's not like you're just in there like one-on-one with a therapist. But it was sweet. Like we were working with kids with OCD and like crazy phobias, So like we had one girl who was like a germaphobe, so like in exposure therapy, we basically just try to like gross her out all day.
Oh.
Dude, that's messed up.
So like you like, and it was a group setting that all the kids would sit around a table. There was like 5 kids and 4 therapists, so it was pretty hands on. But we would let the kids pick each other's interventions for each other. So like, and these kids are savage, but they
Dude.
also knew that like the other kids are gonna pick for them too.
Oh, yeah.
So like that girl specifically, like the kids would like make her like touch gum under the table and stuff like that. It's just,
Dude.
like
I feel like just in general, that's pretty gross, though.
yeah, I know exactly. I mean, that's actually the point. But the crazy thing about this program, like therapy does not have like most therapists won't guarantee like a very high success rate because it's like hard to prove and it's like how long does it last and things like that. But this place specifically was like so awesome that they advertised that 80% of kids that come in deal with their phobias and it's no longer an issue afterwards. So it was a pretty high success rate place. But like we had a kid who was like scared of spiders and like we would just like play him like tarantula videos and like things like that, and like eventually like it gets to a point where you bring like a tarantula in and like a box,
my god,
and like we never got to the point where we're like putting one on the kid, you know, but like it's like eventually like they just don't care anymore. And
trying to overcome that fear.
Yeah.
Just like callousing it over, kind of.
Well, we teach them to like basically the premise is you want to spike the anxiety. You don't want it to get to like a 10 out of 10. That's called like flooding, and that's never like, really that good. But you want to get it to like a 7 or an 8. And during like the 7 or 8, you really want them to focus on it. So like we would like say, don't distract yourself. Like don't try to talk to people. Just sit with it. And like over time, that like 7 or 8 gets down to like a 5 or 6, down to like a 3 or 4, and then like kids just don't care anymore. At least that was my experience anyway. I never had OCD, so I don't know. But, like, that was but that was a really cool place. That's probably one of my favorite places to work too. But it's such a fun place that it's never hiring, and like the kids loved it there. Like it does seem like it's kind of cruel.
I know.
But, like literally, it's such a good vibe there.
I'm like, yeah, therapy
good.
sounds cool and horrible.
But like the kids are all laughing and then they all cry together, and like they see the person. It's a 3-month window, and like they see kids who start, and they like I had one girl that couldn't walk through a door if it had an odd number on it because she'd think that her dad would get in a car crash if she did.
What?
And it's just like magical thinking.
Wow.
But like literally, if she walked through a door with odd numbers, she would have to call her dad, and if she didn't, she would like break down in tears, you know? So obviously crippling, you can't function like that. And eventually we got to the point where like she can walk through doors, and she doesn't have to call her dad. She knows that her dad's okay. And if her dad did get into a crash, it wasn't her fault, you know, but kids could see that. So like, it was like really good vibes where they could see like a girl in like a short amount, like 12 weeks go from that to like functioning again, you know? So it was like a really good vibe place.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like an amazing job.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. It was real cool. Like if I ever go back to Pittsburgh, I'm applying there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
That's pretty crazy too. And actually, our last guest is from Pittsburgh, so that's kind of cool
Yeah.
that we have you on today too, and you're from Pittsburgh. So
Holding it down.
He had a very similar experience. He was like, yeah, we moved out there. He was like, my first week of school, because he's white too.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, my first week of school. He was like, I was there and it was weird, and there was a shooting.
Wow.
Like that first week of school, and he was like, my mom was like, nope. So they pulled him out of the school.
Do you know what school it was?
I have no idea.
I don't think he mentioned it.
He still lives out there. They live in Scranton now, so
Okay.
that's their area.
Yeah, it's the office area, isn't it?
Yeah. There's not really. It's spooky out there, man. Everything's so old over there on the East Coast.
Yeah, and it's weird too. Like the infrastructure in Pittsburgh is so bad. Like the roads are super narrow. Like so many things are one way. If there's street parking, you basically have to like go and then wait for someone to come to you and then like go because it's so tight. And I don't know. Last time I went home was for Christmas, and like I was surprised how angry everyone seemed.
Really?
Like man, like people in Colorado are so nice compared to Pittsburgh in my experience.
Okay.
And yeah, I was just like, I asked my brother, I was like, dude, why is everyone so pissed off? And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I guess he doesn't see it. So like, but yeah, it's an interesting place actually. So I'm like inner city Pittsburgh. And
that's where you were born and
Yeah.
raised, and okay.
yeah, I actually
Nice.
grew up on like one of the main party streets for the University of Pittsburgh.
Oh,
So, like,
really?
yeah, it's and we got rated #1 worst air pollution, so we're holding
What?
it down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's in the country
That's
or
kinda
just like
weird.
the East Coast,
Yeah.
but like
Why is that?
I guess because we're like Pittsburgh's known for all the rivers and like bridges and stuff, so I assume we're like at the bottom of a valley and like
Just, like, in a
smog
little
gets, like,
bowl.
or
Yeah.
something. But yeah, and there's so much construction all the time, so I don't really know. I don't know the science. I'm not going to pretend I do. But, like I do know there's an article that said like literally the neighborhood my grad program was in is rated like one of the worst air pollution places in the country. So,
Wow.
so it's like cool. But yeah, it's a cool place though. I like Pittsburgh a lot, but I don't know. Like Colorado is so enticing to me because I looked it up. It gets like 109 more days of sun a year than Pittsburgh. It's just like, man, like also I understand the mental health comparison with like days of sun. I'm just like, dude,
Yeah.
I gotta get out of the clouds.
Yeah,
So,
those are facts. I mean, there's a lot of people that say, or statistics as well too, that say, you know, if it's cloudy days or whatever, it actually makes you prone to be a little bit more like depressed, sad.
Would you like to work in Seattle?
To my understanding, like Pittsburgh has as much rain as any other place in the country, and like maybe I'm like a little biased or like grumpy gills towards Pittsburgh, but like I'm pretty sure Pittsburgh and Seattle have pretty close to the same amount of days of rain.
Okay.
Wow.
But no, there's actually a thing to your point. There's actually a mental health diagnosis called seasonal affectiveness disorder, and it's really in line with like people who get depressed in like with daylight savings, shorter days, cloudy days, and like Pittsburgh is also a place where SADS, it's called SADS, is diagnosed at like a very like higher than most other cities just because it's so cloudy. And my best friend has it. He's been diagnosed with it since he was in high school, and he said that like like there's like X amount of months a year in Pittsburgh where like the UV rays from the sun don't give you vitamin D, which like I don't know if that's true or not, but like he has the diagnosis, so I assume he pays a little more attention to like vitamin D and sun. But I was like, man, that really sucks, man. But yeah, this winter, even in like COVID, this winter,
I was gonna say, yeah,
here was like way more chill than winters I've had in Pittsburgh. So
oh, really?
yeah.
So did you see any kind of like, I mean, with COVID, everything happening, like everybody getting locked down, all that stuff, did you notice any difference with your job?
Oh yeah, life's hard, man. Like, I mean, even outside of my job, I mean, I know so many people that are like having relationship issues or like quitting jobs, losing jobs, or like even like kids I know who like are tired of playing video games, you know? It's like I when I was in high school, I couldn't imagine being bored of video games. So like there's like kids that have just been doing nothing for the last like year and a half or whatever it's been. And yeah, so like it's everywhere, man. Like I definitely experienced it myself where it's just like like I love soccer. Soccer is one of my biggest things. And like
Awesome.
I would feel like guilt for like 3 days after playing because you can't really play with a mask. And like I still played during the time, but I was like, man, like if I get someone else sick because I'm being like selfish, like I would have felt really bad. But on the other hand, I was like, dude, like I'm going crazy not doing it. So
Jeez, that's horrible though, because I actually used to play soccer in high school too, and it makes me a little bit sad. I don't do that anymore. But I mean that's crazy. Like I actually have asthma, so just imagining having like a mask on while you're running, playing, sounds horrible.
Oh, I tried. Like I literally did try. And like I play year round too and it's outside. So like even wearing like a ski mask like still sucks and it gets like super wet. And like it's just like it's just not legit.
Dang.
But yeah, so like when I went up to like the red color where like it was like COVID's really bad, like I stopped playing, but I tried to play most of the time. But yeah, it affected me that way too. And like even my relationship, like I think that we got really accustomed to like just coming straight home and like doing nothing, like watching TV and stuff. And I've always been like a huge outdoor person. And like I used to run a 5K a day and play soccer every day. And it's just like,
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, until I blew up my Achilles, which is like why I like switched to jiu-jitsu now.
Oh, interesting.
But
how'd you blow your Achilles? Isn't that one of the strongest like tendons in your body?
I believe so. It actually ties in with grad school. During grad school, like I was so busy. I was working a full-time job and going to school full-time, and I had an internship. So we're talking like we're talking about grinding. And I gained a decent amount of weight in grad school. I probably gained like 15 pounds. And like as soon as I graduated, I was like, I'm getting back into running. And I graduated in December, so I was like running. I think I was doing 3 half marathons a week. And
Jesus.
Yeah, I was trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon, so I was going like ham.
Yeah.
And like after like 6 weeks of just running way too much in the cold, my Achilles tendons on both my ankles. This is like like February of 2019. Like I just woke up one morning, I couldn't like flex my feet.
Wow.
And like they were just like locked. And literally like 2 years later, I still struggle with it. Like I played soccer yesterday and my left Achilles is just like killing me today.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, so it sucks. It's like I've done physical therapy, I've done acupuncture, I've done like sports massages, and like it just hasn't done anything.
Man.
So yeah, that sucks. But
That's kind of weird. Do you think just from hammering on it so much, or like?
I don't know. Like actually, one of the last physical therapists I talked to, they've said that they wonder if I just have to like. They basically said I could go two routes. They said I could get an MRI, and it might reveal I need surgery. But realistically, they're probably just gonna say like continue to do physical therapy and stuff. But it's getting expensive, man. Like I've done a lot of physical therapy on it. And she also said that sometimes people get like injuries that like their brain doesn't forget. So like they get really worried about it, even though it's not a big deal. And she said like, she's not trying to like call me out, but she's like, sometimes that does happen. And she was saying that she thinks that maybe just run on it for a while and see what happens. And like worst case scenario, you just go back to square one. So I was like,
so like you're placeboing yourself?
Yeah, that kind of, it's like a mental war game. But so actually where I'm at right now, I'm kind of at the point where it's like I wanna lose weight and get back into running, and if my Achilles gives up on me, whatever, I'm just back to square one, and then I can get an MRI if I want. But yeah, I mean, there's a 10K race in Pittsburgh that has I think 15,000 people running it, and I got I think 63rd place in it. So like,
what?
Wow.
Yeah, I could do 5-minute miles for a while.
Wow.
It's that stride, dude. You're a big man.
Yeah.
You just have a giant stride.
Yeah. Well, in soccer, it's apparently soccer. And I was like really into biking too. Like I've always biked to work and like as much as I could and like bike places. So like between soccer, biking, and running, it's just like really good for building speed for like long distance running.
And you're just beating on your lungs doing all of that, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I miss those days. That's like my early to mid 20s.
How old are you now?
I'm turning 30 this year.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm getting a little dusty.
A little dusty.
But yeah, like I still want to, like the Boston Marathon you have to qualify for, and that's like one of my biggest like fitness goals.
But you have to run like 6-minute miles, yeah? Or is it like 7-minute miles?
I think it's like I think once you're over 30, that might be my in, because once you're over 30, it slows down a little bit.
Different bracket.
But I think for like 22 to like 29, you have to average like a 7:15 for a whole marathon.
My God, dude. That's so fast.
Yeah, which like I used to be able to do 7s all day long, but like now when I do a 7, I'm just like heaving, and like my ankles get so freaking tight. So like I think my plan right now is to do like 10-minute miles for a month, and then 9-minute miles for a month, and then 8-minute miles for a month, and like see like either my ankle blows up or I'm gonna be doing it. You know?
Yeah.
So like it might not be the wisest. I don't know if any physical therapists are gonna watch this and reach out to me. I kind of hope they do.
Like, don't do that. Yeah.
But if I don't hear anything, I'll assume that we're good.
That's my cue.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I've never ran a marathon.
Yeah, me either.
I don't like running that much.
I did the Pittsburgh half marathon, like I think 8 years in a row. And like,
oh wow.
The marathon, I've actually never done a full marathon. I usually would like be like a drug mule for my dad who runs them, and I would just like stand next to him with like Gatorade and like salt packets and things like that. Like,
so it's in your family.
Yeah, my whole family is like super into running. Well, at least we were.
Okay.
We're all getting a little beat up now,
except for dusty.
Yeah, except for my dad, who like he was gonna retire this year, but since coronavirus, he like just stopped working. He told his boss like, I'm not coming in until like everyone in the place is getting tested regularly, and like he just retired instead. But there's this, we're into like into cycling too, and there's like they're called trainers. It's just basically like a treadmill for your bike so you can ride indoors.
Okay.
And
I think I've seen those. It like props up your back tire.
Yeah. And my dad is a monster. Like my dad is doing like 100-mile rides, and like he's faster than me on the bike. He's faster than me running. He's like 64 and he has a 6-pack.
What?
Like, yeah,
oh my God.
He's gone full Goku hyperbolic time shaver.
Full on Rambo. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
that's inspiring. That's killer.
Yeah, he's a beast. So like it gives me hope that like Like right now it's like a down phase, but I'll get back in shape.
Like, fuck you, Achilles.
Yeah. No, seriously. But yeah. Yeah, my older sister, Dina, I want to say she's done probably over 30 full marathons. So like
Wow.
Dude.
My dad actually did, I think, 5 in 1 year. So like,
wow.
That's insane, dude.
He was beast moding it.
Do you follow Cam Hanes?
Yeah, I know him. He hangs out with David Goggins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know David Goggins better than I know Cam Hanes, but he's a pretty big
David
guy.
Goggins, him
Wow.
too, man.
Yeah.
Both those
That's
guys
crazy.
just make me feel so wimpy.
Yeah.
I actually, at my current job right now, I recommend David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me book to like all my clients.
Yeah?
Just because a lot of these kids are so soft and like,
Dude.
like I tell them that too. Like this isn't something that a kid will listen to and they'll be like, oh.
It's like, oh, he's talking about me.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like a lot of these kids, like they have such rich parents that just rescue them from all their problems. And then they get to like school and like a kid bullies them and then all of a sudden they're suicidal. And it's like, are you really suicidal or you just like not know how to deal with a bully because you've never dealt with a problem in your entire life? So like a lot of the kids I work with are just like so fragile and just can't solve problems, you know? And it's like, dude, like one of my favorite things to do when a kid tells me they're suicidal, like, is straight up ask them, like, are you suicidal or do you just want a problem to end? Because if you want a problem to end, I can work with you on problem solving. But if you want to end your life, there's a completely different track we'll go down. And I would literally say 9 out of 10 times, it's that they have a problem that they don't know how to solve, you know? And most kids aren't actually trying to end their lives, you know?
Yeah.
And they don't like teach teachers that, you know? Like a kid tells a teacher they're feeling suicidal and like immediately they go to like a mental hospital or they get on meds and things like that.
That's horrible.
And it's really not that hard of an intervention. It's like, oh, like a big one right now is like kids who like send nudes and like it gets exposed to school and like kids like, I mean, kids commit suicide off that all the time. And it's just like maybe we can move schools, you know? Like it's like it's a little easier, like but like I don't know, that's something that I always try to teach these kids is like let's solve the problem, let's not end our life. And that's helped me help a lot of kids just with that like one thought process.
That's
How
amazing.
much of this, like, I mean, are you married?
No, I'm not.
Not married? Are you planning on having kids?
I was until I started working in this field.
I was going to say, yeah,
Dang.
because that freaks me out, honestly. Like, how much of this has put of a perspective on the way that you see things? Like, if it wasn't for this job, do you think your perspective would be radically different?
Absolutely. I'm definitely desensitized, you know?
Yeah.
Like I hear stories that most people would like cringe upon or like cry, and I'm just like, yeah, well, let's deal with it, you know? I like to say, like, my girlfriend, she's a nurse, and it's like the same thing, you know? Like dealing with like any like people like losing fingers, bleeding everywhere, like that doesn't bother her, you know? And it's like the same thing with me with like mental health issues, you know? Like or like Danny at the farm, I'm sure like broken bones doesn't really bother him, you know? Like but yeah, so like I'm probably desensitized to a lot of things. There are still some things that hit me pretty hard. Like what was it? I had a friend when I was in high school get murdered, and like he was at a party and like they didn't let some dude get in and they like shot at the door and it like went through the door and hit him. Like it was a complete accident.
Oh my gosh.
And like one of the kids came in and said like they had someone who they knew that like similar story, like they weren't the target but ended up dying. And like that hit me pretty hard. And there's a thing called transference and countertransference. It's like when I can put my expectations onto a kid, or like I think that their experience is the same as mine, or that their experiences will like trigger something in me. And there was definitely some transference from the kid to me on that one, just because it like kind of surprised me. I didn't expect to have a reaction to that.
Just it hits home.
Yeah. So I'm still a human. I still have emotions, but like some things probably, there's definitely stories that like, even if like I didn't have to keep privacy things, I probably wouldn't tell people just because they're like pretty awful stories.
Yeah.
Because there's some awful people in the world for sure. And like some of the kids I worked with that like, it's not like a kid lying to me about what happened. It's like facts of what happened to this kid. And it's just like ungodly stuff. And it's just like lost a lot of faith in humanity over the years.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, when we did our first podcast and we had Jesse on here, a lot of things that he talked about, like I had no idea, man. And it threw me off guard.
yeah. What do you mean by that?
he came on, and I wanted him to come on because I knew that he had a rough upbringing. Because I knew that he dealt with drugs, homelessness, things with his parents, having kids at a young age. Like, I knew about all this stuff. And then, like, 2-3 minutes in, he was just like, I'm just going to hit it hard. I'm going to tell you guys, like, how I used to tell my team. He was like, when I was 8 years old, I was raped. Wow. He's like, this happened for 2 years. I was 8-10 years old. He's like, it was my stepbrother. Kind of, like, went through the whole thing, and I just wasn't ready for it, like, mentally, I feel like. So it kind of threw both of us off guard, because we try to talk about, like, like, let's try to have some sort of structure, but, like, try to keep it really, like, genuine. We don't want to script the show at all. So it's like, when he said that, it was just like, holy shit, man. Like, and then afterwards, like, listening to it, editing it, and, like, doing the video on it, just, dude, we're so blessed, man. Like, I can't even imagine. There's a lot of situations that I've been in, and, like, I feel like could make me feel kind of weird, but then I hear other people's situations, and it's not even close, man. So
yeah, well, something with that though is, like, the worst day of someone's life isn't much different than the worst day of anyone else's life, So, like, even, like, I am trained to, like if a kid's worst day of their life is their girlfriend broke up with them, like, I'm supposed to be, like, as validating as, like, if it's, like, their dad just died, because it's, like, they're still feeling a 10 out of 10 in, like, stress, anxiety, depression, and things like that. And it makes it, like, relatable. Like, I have kids ask me, like, how can I help them if I don't have a background in addiction, and it's like, well, like, I understand, like, difficult decisions. I understand, like, lack of discipline. I understand these things. And it's like, I applied in a different manner, but it's still very relatable. So I always just try to, like, I mean, literally, the worst day of your life probably felt pretty close to the worst day of their life,
Yeah. It's all the same emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like, same kind of triggers.
Yeah.
I just don't, I don't know if I could do that for a living, man. Honestly, kids
I feel like I would
different.
definitely be, like, too attached.
Yeah, well, that's something that happens. I mean, we actually have a staff member leaving just because, like, it's too tough for them. Like, they're too emotionally engaged and invested, and, like,
with kids, it's different, man.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, like, something that I've had to work on over the years is leaving work at work, and, like, I think in all fields that's important, but this field, like, specifically, because, like, it's kind of like pouring water in other cups, like, if I don't have any water in my cup, like, I can't fill other people's cups, so it's like the self-care is so important for me to help other people. And that's actually why I love jiu-jitsu, and, like, specifically the 6 a.m. classes, just because, like, the days where I do it, like, I'm just better at my job than the days where I don't do it.
So it wears you out.
Yeah. Well, also, it's just like normal life is a lot easier than getting, like, choked, So, like, so it's like, I don't know, like, it's and, like, I always have this burden of, like, if I don't work out, then, like, all day I'm like, man, when I go home, I'm gonna have to work out, and just getting, like, out of the way, like, makes me feel so much better. And I don't know, like, I'm so, like, I'm glad I'm part of this job and I got vaccinated early, so I can, like, actually feel safe doing jiu-jitsu, because it's another not so mask-friendly sport.
Yeah, you're definitely really up close and personal, for sure. No space in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so, like, I'm grateful I'm able to do it. I actually got my first stripe on Friday. So.
Oh, you did?
Snap.
Hey.
That is awesome.
Bro. That's awesome.
Thanks. And, like, I tried to act like I wasn't, like, super proud of myself. But, like,
no, dude. Every time I get a stripe, or I try to explain to people the first time I got a tap, or whenever I get a stripe, you're like, try to be all cool, calm, and collected, and then you get in the car, and I'm just yelling like that. Have you seen that commercial with the pig where the pig's just like,
yeah.
That's me. Every time something happens at the farm.
Yeah.
Or I tap a high rank.
Yeah. I haven't experienced that yet.
Feeling it for sure. Don't look at me, bro.
Yeah, I haven't made, like, a Snapchat story in, like, 6 years, and I, like, posted the stripe on Snapchat.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I'm back, baby.
Yeah. It does feel good, man. It's 'cause it's hard. Jiu-jitsu is really hard.
Yeah.
So it is a really good feeling of accomplishment when you get something like that, for sure.
Yeah. I'm enjoying it. my YouTube feed is caught on, and like all my YouTube is just like Gordon Ryan this or like IBJJ or like Eddie Bravo or some shit like that. And like I'm like, I'm not addicted to this, I don't think, but YouTube begs to differ.
It's hard not to. Yeah, it's a weird thing to do with your. Are you going to compete this summer?
We'll see. I wanna get down to like a lower weight bracket, like because right now I'm like 235.
Okay.
And I want to get. I think the next one down is 220 or 225. So
that probably seems about right. Yeah.
So I want to be in like the 215 range. Like I'm not trying to roll with like, because I think it's like 225 and up. Like I'm not trying to just roll with the up. You know. Like,
have you rolled a Tyrese yet?
Yeah, it's miserable.
It's horrible. Yeah.
I literally hate it.
I don't want to do that competition.
And like I've even like tried to like look up like YouTube videos of like when you're wrestling or rolling with someone like way heavier than you, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah,
like
dude,
I've gone in like 3 times, be like, I got it this time.
Yeah,
it's just like nope.
That was me the first 6 months of jiu-jitsu, dude. Yeah.
But
oh man,
yeah, it's tough. And like basically, I try to do what I basically try to keep him away from me, you know. But eventually, he just gets on top and like lays there, and like it's also worse because I know he's not even trying. And I'm just like, well. Okay.
You're breathing hard. He's not breathing at all.
Yeah. Well, and he's not going for submissions. He's just kind of like laying there, like trying to let me work. And
smash and pass.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not really working, man. Can we just stop?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's happened, man. It's not even submission.
Hit him with the tired tap.
Yeah. The double T.
Yeah, it's a double T.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Double or tired tap.
Oh, gotcha. That's funny.
Yeah. No, that's crazy, man. Yeah, if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, I definitely wouldn't have met you, man. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Why are you here in Colorado?
Yeah.
So like in the internships in my grad program, I found out pretty quickly that I don't want to be like an office therapist. Like I don't want to just have clients come into an office. And
it's genius.
Yeah. So I talked to my professor about it. I was like, dude, like I don't really know if I want to do therapy. And they're like, why? And I was like, I don't want to like some therapists I know like have like a pretty standard curriculum of like they do like DBT workbooks and things like that. It's
very structured.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm like I'm definitely way more of a go at the flow kind of therapist. Like I really try to take like build rapport with the kid and then really focus on family relationships after that because. Like in a lot of my jobs, I didn't work with parents, and like I could teach kid to like deep breathe or like coping skills X, Y, and Z, and it works in the office. But then they go home and it doesn't work because like parents don't know what to do, and like they're basically going back into the fire, but now they know how to deep breathe, and it's like you're still on fire. So I was talking to my one of my professors, and they brought up this whole realm of therapy that I didn't know about, which is like adventure therapy and wilderness therapy. So I just like Googled it one day, and there was like, there's a website that has like a list of like all the wilderness and adventure therapy programs in the country, and most of them are in like Utah, Colorado, Maine has a couple, North Carolina has a couple, Oregon has a couple, and like Hawaii has a couple, but that's basically it.
Hawaii.
So, I know, right? That's cool.
Although I think the Hawaii program closed down for some unethical shit going down. Like, I definitely applied that place. But yeah, so I didn't even apply places. I just emailed all of them, and I was like, here's my resume. Like, if you guys have any openings, let me know. And like I completely forgot about it. And like 6 months later, like the place I work at now emailed me back and was like, hey, like if you're interested, like come out for an interview. So they flew me out. I stayed at the DoubleTree in Greeley.
Okay.
Wait, the new one or the old one?
I think it's the new one. Okay. It was pretty nice in there.
Yeah. Center Place?
I have no idea, man. Like
DoubleTree. No, I think that's
was that the one over by the
on
rec
23rd.
Center?
Isn't that on 23rd?
By the mall?
I have no idea.
Oh, you know what? It's downtown.
Yeah, it's
that new one.
Downtown.
Yeah.
I know there's like a nerd shop right by it, and like
that's where we did that. We did that seminar there.
Yeah. And like there's like. I'm like a lifelong nerd too, so like I had to check that place out. And there's like a train museum that I checked out, but I think it's like right there. If you
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, like I in middle school I was nationally ranked in Pokemon cards. So, like,
snap.
yeah, I was grinding ranked in.
What
dude.
does that even mean?
So, like, the Pokemon cards, a lot of people collected them, but you could actually, like, battle each other.
Yeah.
Like, and
I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh guy.
dude, I mean, the tournaments are all the same. So you'd go there, there'd be like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, a Pokemon tournament, and like a Magic tournament all in like the same like place. But yeah, so me, my two brothers, and like my youngest sister, we got pretty into it. And my dad would drive us like to like West Virginia or like Columbus, Ohio, and things like that to like compete in these tournaments.
What?
And, like,
Holy shit.
yeah, so I was number 2 in the state in like Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio. And like the
What?
number 1 kid was the same kid. Like he beat me. He also went to all these tournaments.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I was actually 1 win away from one point to getting flown to the national tournament in California. And
Dang.
like,
You just have to have like a killer deck or what? Do you just put it in like a certain order?
well, actually, the kid who beat me, he got disqualified from the national championship for cheating. Little bastard.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Little bastard. He still hates him.
Dude, I do.
Yeah.
It's actually good though, because
Like
I was
10 years later.
Yeah, no, it's
Screw that guy.
It's more than 10 years, and I still hate him.
I could have been the number 1.
Yeah, but it worked out well because like it was actually my last tournament I played in. Like it's the one I lost, and like I literally left there crying, and I'm in like 8th grade. Like I'm getting a little too old to be crying over Pokemon cards, and like, but yeah, like my deck actually countered his deck, and I did that on purpose because I knew that he was the best kid and I could probably beat everyone else. So my deck countered his, but I assume he was cheating when he was playing me too, because he always beat me, even though my deck was specifically meant to beat his deck. So yeah, he basically you can.
Was he the same age?
Yeah, so I played in like the 10 to 13 age group or something like that, and basically, you can have 4 of one given card, and like I think he was rocking like 6 of his best cards, you know. And like they do like deck checks at the beginning of the competition, but like who the fuck
Slip some
cheat?
cards in there.
It's like it's so easy to do that, and like I mean, I like to think like Pokemon is a game of integrity. Like, are we really cheating? Like, so,
it's the most honorable sport.
Yeah, it's that and jiu-jitsu, you know. And so, I guess at the national tournament they were actually like doing regular deck checks, and this kid got caught with like stacking his deck.
Dang.
Yeah, so. But yeah, my dad was also a beast at Pokemon cards. So eventually he would go to these tournaments and like he would just sit there all day. So he's like, dude, I'm learning how to play.
Dang,
okay. And like he wasn't the only parent doing that. Like they had like the adult age group, which is like 18 and up. And like my dad actually was pretty savage at Pokemon cards. Like he took like 3rd or I don't know if he ever got 1st, but he got 2nd and 3rd pretty regularly.
Wow.
And, yeah, so it was pretty fun.
Like father, like son, huh?
Yeah, no, he's a beast. And the one we went to was in Columbus, Ohio. We're on the way there. It was like a blizzard, and like literally a semi truck like flipped over in front of us. And my dad was like, "Do you still want to go?" And I was like, "Well, we're almost there." He's like, "All right." Like, so it's just like
make your way around.
Yeah, we were pretty into it growing up. I still have like a very impressive Pokemon card collection. It's actually not mine. It's like my siblings, but I have it here in Colorado.
That's pretty cool.
I often say if my house caught on fire, it's the first thing I'm going for. So
I got a buddy that buys them.
Yeah.
Buys and sells them.
Well, they skyrocketed during coronavirus. Like,
yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, my collection definitely is worth a lot more money nowadays than it was like even a year and a half ago. So
Wow.
And you got like a little trophy with you. Got to be like, yeah, this is the number 2 deck.
Yeah.
Number 2 deck, 1999.
Dude,
number 2 deck.
I lost that deck, man.
Oh no.
Yeah, my mom's house, the pipes broke one winter, and like the cards are in the basement.
Oh.
So, the nice thing is it was like my competition deck, so those cards are all like warped and bent and like beat up. Like my actual collection, it's safe.
Like all pristine.
Don't worry. Don't worry. It's in a safe spot. You know, it's like family VHS videos and then the Pokemon cards. You know?
It's like they're in the safe. That's waterproof, fireproof.
Yeah. Dude, I actually
Never happening again.
At one point, I did think about getting like a humidifier for like the room that it's in. I was like,
they got to last forever, man. They can't deteriorate.
Well, if the temperature, it's kind of like I'm really into guitars too, and like you're supposed to keep guitars at like a certain temperature because it's like bad for the wood.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, like I could probably justify it by saying it's for the guitars and it's really for like the Pokemon cards.
That's pretty amazing.
But yeah, it's a.
I didn't know that, actually. I have a couple guitars.
Yeah, I don't know if electric are the same as acoustic, but acoustic guitar is like air, dryness and air plays a part in it, and also like temperature plays a part in it. And
that makes a lot of sense for an acoustic guitar.
It's just wood in general, but I don't know the science of that either, so I'm gonna not act like I do. But my uncle, who's like, he's been in like a ton of bands, like his room with all of his guitars is like the same temperature year round. And like,
wow.
So
that's kind of badass, though.
I know.
yeah.
That's like having a wine cellar,
Yeah.
but like a prestige one, it's like set.
And then it has a cooler of natty ice in the corner. So,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's pretty interesting, man.
Yeah. But
so that's how you ended up in Colorado. Is basically you were just looking at programs where you didn't want to be inside. So you're like, you know what, this is kind of it. They hired you. So you're like, yeah, fuck, I'm fucking in.
Yeah, and I'm not actively looking right now for a new job, but when I started here, we did 2 adventure days a week, and now we only do 1. So it's actually like fading out of the program. What I'm really into is called wilderness therapy, where it's like the kids live in the woods, and
like some YMCA kind of shit.
Yeah, like it's a pretty like high acute like type of kid. It's like a kid that like is getting kicked out of programs and like self-harms a lot and things like that. And it's like the same population where parents are pretty rich. You're probably not sending like, it's not insurance based. So I think most of these things are like out of pocket pay, and it's like the same thing. It's like over 10 grand a month. But
that's gnarly, dude.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool program where like there's a couple of them. Like most of them are in Utah, honestly. Like there's probably like 12 in Utah.
Well, speaking about that though, I know that I don't know if it falls in the same category or what, but I know that there's a school out there that's actually kind of bad. I don't know. I think it's like in Provo Canyon, something like that. And Kat Von D and I guess Paris Hilton went to that school, but it's like a horrible school where they just treat you horrible.
I think it's different. I think it's like a school for like, I think it's the same kind of deal, like rich kids, but they like beat them or something crazy, like abuse them or some weird shit.
So like I guess like what they do is I guess going towards like Kat Von D's story, I guess they actually take you from your bedroom. So you're just at your home, just going to bed.
Yeah.
And then just like 2 people come in and take you from your bed, and they take you to the school.
Yep.
And it is kind of for kids that are like kind of going towards like that bad road or whatever, but that
sounds shitty though.
Yeah, it's
actually in our field they call it gooning. I don't know what they're actually called transporters, but like it's basically like 2 dudes that show up. Most of them are like tatted up. Most of them have like an associate's in psychology, and like they show up in like the middle of the night and literally will like take your kid and like transport them to a place, and like it actually is pretty traumatizing.
Yeah.
Most of the kids I've worked with that have been transported have said like it's like really,
dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm sure. Like PTSD. You're getting like,
seriously. I mean, you're just getting ready to go to bed, and then just
And like sometimes parents will be there to tell them what's going on, but like sometimes
more fucked up, dude.
Parents are like coward and like won't be there when the kid's getting picked up. And I'm like, dude, like that's worse in my opinion, you know? Like at least if like dad's there.
That makes me so sad.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
That makes me afraid to have kids, but I want kids.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man.
Well, you have to realize that like most kids are pretty okay. Like when I go to like a typical like middle school or elementary school, or like any of my friends that have kids, like their kids are awesome, you know.
What's normal to you?
I actually hate the word normal. I should have said typical.
What's typical?
I would say like,
just
honestly,
healthy.
Yeah, healthy, relatively happy. Decent grades, like not doing a ton of drugs, you know. Like I think it's easier to say with like what's atypical, and it's like.
But a little bit of drugs is okay.
I would say. I mean, honestly, I mean.
I was just kidding.
No, seriously though. I mean, I think that like they're definitely. I mean, everyone knows the kids in high school that were like using, or even in college that were using, finished college, never used again. Have really high paying jobs, you know. So it's like.
That's a good point.
I mean, you could say that it's not okay, but it's like.
There's like there's definitely like a tipping point, right? Where it's like on one part of the spectrum, it's like, well, they're still doing okay. Like they're not like abusing anybody. They're not abusing themselves. They're not like being violent, right?
Well, we look at it as, are you experiencing consequences and still doing it? Because that's when it's problematic. It's like most people, like for instance, like I had a friend who got an underage, like his first party he went to at Penn State, and didn't drink again, but like until he turned 21. But like if you're someone who would have got an underage and then got another underage, and then you start having to go to like AA meetings and like your school kicks in, like, hey, if you get another one of these, you're going to be on academic probation and things like that. That's where it's problematic,
Right.
And there's a lot of kids that fall into the first category of like, I experienced the consequence, I'm done. And there's a lot of kids that fall into the other category where it's like, I have consequences, I don't care because whatever this does for me is worth it.
Right.
And that's where it gets problematic.
That makes me curious. So then I guess it would make sense. Do you work on like goal setting?
Yeah, absolutely. But my goal really, I try to make the clients make the goal. If a kid comes to me and says like, I really want to never use again, like recovery is my life, then we can work on that. But also if a kid's like, dude, like I want to go to college and I want to be able to drink with my buddies or like smoke with my buddies, and like we can work on that as well. I do really coach kids on like, if you're going to use like anything outside of, well, even like weed, I really do coach like wait till you're 25, just because your prefrontal cortex in your brain is what covers like decision making. It's not fully developed till you're 25. And like I'm like, dude, if you want to do shrooms, wait till you're 25, and like the chances of you actually abusing them at 25 is significantly lower. And like I think that's just helpful for like 17-year-olds to hear too, where it's like, if you tell someone who's like trying to diet, you can never eat ice cream again, they're going to think about ice cream all the time.
Right.
But if you're like, hey, like if you can wait a while and then you can eat ice cream, that's a little more achievable usually. So I take that approach. I mean, ideally, I don't want anyone to do anything like they're worried about controlling. So like these kids, I always tell them like, if you do hit 25 and you still want to try acid, like maybe make sure you have a really good relapse prevention plan or like backup plan, like in case it goes really bad, So like I always tell kids, like if you are going to be used in the future, I would like make sure you have like an NA meeting lined up. So like, if like it turns into 1 day, turns into 2 days, turns into 3 days, on that 4th day, you have a meeting you're going to, that like this is the time they meet, that there's like a sponsor you could talk to there. Maybe you have like someone who can hold you accountable too. So like if you have a friend, tell your friend like, hey, like I'm going to try this. I'm a little nervous about it. Can you make sure that I don't go off the rails and things like that? So, in my experience with teenagers, when you tell them they cannot do something, it doesn't really go that well. But if you kind of like tip the scale a little bit, it is helpful. Granted, I mean, like a kid's going to do whatever the hell they want. So, I just try to make them know like the information of like it's really Russian roulette with addiction, like I have so many kids that said like, I was an alcoholic, so I can smoke weed when I leave here. But like the research actually shows with cross addiction, like if you get addicted to one thing, you're a lot more likely to get addicted to another thing. So it's like the expression I use is like you played Russian roulette, you won the game, but now you're playing it again. It's like, dude, it's not worth it.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. So, and like even getting back into the drug of choice, like I have a lot of kids saying like, I think I can use it just like more like appropriately. And I'm just like, dude, like, unless you are unique, which like maybe you are the 1 in a million that can, like you can go to a meeting and tell people that, and everyone thinks that way, and everyone relapses and gets addicted again and like falls back in old patterns. So, yeah, I mean, I always just like, it's kind of shitty, but I'm like, how unique do you think you are? Like, do you think you're the 1 in a million where this is going to work? And like, oftentimes, like, the more accountable, like reasonable teenagers will be like, probably not. But then you'll have like the knucklehead. It's like, yeah, it's like, well, that's hard to work with too. So
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with adults?
yeah, my second internship in my grad program was an adult residential rehab. So I worked with adults, but it was kind of weird because I worked on like an all-female unit, and like definitely had to like enforce like really hard boundaries. And I also like to joke around a lot, and like I didn't do that there because I didn't want to be mistaken with flirting. And so like I was like robot professional there, and like I didn't like it. I was like, this kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I also learned how like powerful the addicted mind is. Like I worked with a woman who like literally like child youth services is calling her like saying like, hey, like if you relapse or fail a drug test, we're taking your kids. And she's like begging them not to, like, I'll never use again. And like next day she used, and like the place took her kids, you know? And it's just like, it's just crazy, like how this woman, like, she wasn't lying, like she wasn't being manipulative. She truly felt like she's never going to use again and she's going to turn it around. And like not even 24 hours, she's high, and like her kids ended up actually getting taken away from her. So, but then it's also like, is that the compassionate thing to do? You know, like if you have a woman who is a single mom who is in active addiction, it might not be like, sometimes foster care is horrible, but sometimes it's really good. And like sometimes you have to weigh, like, is foster care more likely to keep this kid safe, you know? And I mean, if you have someone who's that deep in their addiction, the honest truth is they probably are. So
if you don't have your own kids, would you adopt?
No.
Is that too much of a stress? Just because of the background, just too much baggage? Like,
I've just worked with, I mean, you have to think about nature versus nurture. So there's a lot of things that kids, that mental health is, that like society implements on them. And like, so like, if your parents are depressed, you're more likely to be depressed. But also, if your world is fucking awful, you're more likely to be depressed. So that's like the nature versus the nurture. A lot of kids who in the foster care system have a lot of the nature side of that. So the heredity stuff. So like, a lot of kids in foster care had parents who were in addiction, you know, so they're statistically more likely to fall into that.
yeah.
And I also know some people that have adopted and it worked really well, but like the amount of families I've worked with kids who are adopted, I'm just like, man, that's like,
It's not great.
that's a dangerous game. Like I'd probably foster care, like hold on to a kid for like a month or two and like help them find like the actual adoption. I could see myself doing that, but
I think that would fuck me up.
yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that would definitely,
I read this, I don't remember if it was in Outliers or if it was Thinking and Talking Slow. But there's a book that I read and it talks about that with like foster kids. They did a study with like trying to figure out if like emotions or habits, stuff like that, thought patterns are hereditary or if it's something that you develop over time. And they did the study where they separated the kids. So they have kids that were in a foster home and they got them when they were really young, got them when they were older. And then some, they put them back with their like original parents.
Yeah.
And basically in all the cases, they were showing all the exact same character patterns as their parents, even if they were never even around them. Like, so there's something about that is like hereditary.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, like, it just seems like it would just be like a problem, you know, like, and which sucks. I mean, that's sad. You know, we've talked about it before, like when it comes to like adopting somebody, like, I just feel like I'd feel so bad that it makes me want to, you know?
Well, there's not really a manual on how to do it either, you know? Like, I mean, one of the kids I'm working with right now, while he was in wilderness therapy before he came to our program, his bio mom died and his adoptive parents didn't tell him because like he was in like treatment for suicidality, you know? And it's like, do you tell a kid then? And, you know, it's like messy stuff like that where, like, the honest truth is different for every kid. So, like, you really don't know. And even if you did read a book, it probably wouldn't give you good advice because it is unique for every kid. So it is tough. I mean, if you're interested in it, I would do it. Like, I wouldn't let me talk you out of it. But I'm just saying for my own, like, I'd probably rather have, like, an army of animals, like have, like, a slave team of dogs or something like that.
So are you a dog person or are you a cat person?
I have a dog right now.
What kind of dog you got?
A little border collie.
Oh, okay. Those are great dogs.
Yeah, I finally figured out how to tire her out. I play catch with 2 balls and like
I have to do the same thing with the Doberman.
Yeah. So like as soon as she gets back to me, I throw the next one. And like it still takes like an hour of nonstop sprinting to get her tired.
I use a laser.
Oh yeah.
And I just set it in the backyard.
Helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brilliant. But also, I wanted to bring up on your point about like the hereditary stuff. It's interesting seeing about twins who go into like the adoptive system and get split, and about how similar they are. Which like it does show. It leads to evidence suggesting that there is like a lot of like of the hereditary stuff with twins because like, they'll meet up and they'll sound the same. They'll talk at like the same cadence and things like that. There's like a lot.
But they didn't grow up around each other.
Didn't grow up around each other at all. And there's like all kinds of stories like that on YouTube. And
there's something about our DNA, man. I think it was on Rogan, but they were talking about this other study too, where they did with rats or mice or something. to where it was like a shock therapy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And while the mouse was pregnant, to get to a certain part of the cheese or like the food or whatever, they had to go in their certain path, and if they went on the wrong path or like they went to their certain part, it would shock them.
Yeah.
So then once the mouse had the babies, they separated them, they grow up or whatever, and then they put them in the same test. Yeah. The baby, never being around the test, knew exactly where not to go.
Wow.
So it like, but it's like they don't know anything about the test. They weren't growing up around the test. Like they didn't train them on it. But
that's crazy.
They knew exactly like what not to do. So it's like there's something about like, there's something about our DNA that we just don't understand yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually there's a crazy NPR episode on like what happens to caterpillars and cocoons. Because a lot of people just think like they get smaller and grow wings and they like fly away. And like, do you guys know how it happens?
No, to be honest.
So basically on this NPR one, and this is like not really that relative, but like your test made me think of this test. So this is like one of my favorite tests to tell people. Basically what happens is they had a test group and a control group, and like they would blow smoke like from a fire at like the caterpillars in one group and caterpillars in the other group. And what happens to a caterpillar in the cocoon is they basically liquefy themselves and like turn into jelly. And the purpose of this test is to see like if it's the same creature with the same brain and like conscious once it's a butterfly. So that's why they kind of tortured the one group with the smoke.
What the fuck?
But the butterflies that were exposed to the smoke as a caterpillar had like higher levels of stress than the ones that weren't. And that suggested that even though these caterpillars go into the cocoon and like completely like liquefy themselves, still have like the same conscious as the caterpillar.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same
it's
thing.
Just
but
developing somehow.
Yeah, like it's weird. Like you literally, like, if you crack open a cocoon, to my understanding, I haven't listened to the podcast in a year or two, but to my understanding, like you can cut open a cocoon and it's like liquid would come out, you know, so it like completely like liquefies itself.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
what the fuck?
Yeah, but it still has the same conscious, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
Yeah. And like that's actually something in psychology we have like very minimal information on is like the conscious. And so like any research like that I think is fascinating because
how do you measure that?
Right.
We haven't figured that out yet, you know.
Yeah.
It's like kind of gnarly. It's one of the few things that we just don't know what the heck is going on with it. Like, is it connected to something? And like I remember in Psych 101, like I thought it was like so profound back then, but it was like the teacher was like, point to the part of your brain where the conscious is, and it was just like he was like, you can't because we don't like it's just there.
You don't know, yeah.
And I was like in like Psych 101, like writing it down, like wow,
this first day of class is wild.
Yeah. Like,
I already love this.
Yeah, but it was just interesting though because it's like we can like neuropsych has like come so far, but we still don't really understand the conscious and like where it come from, why we have it. It seems like other animals don't have it. And
want to know what's fucking crazy? I saw this article. I sent it to Jenny actually right before we started this podcast. But I was reading this article. They were developing or they were messing with spinach. And now spinach can read. I don't know what the fuck, bro. Yeah, she pulled it up right here. Look. Right here. Sorry, my bad. Scientists have taught spinach to send emails.
What?
Yeah, I don't understand this. It says engineers have used nanotechnology, which allows plants to communicate with the humans. There's no "the" in there. I don't want to say "the." The news has left people checking whether it's February 1st or April 1st. So,
I mean,
this was a while ago. I read the article, and basically they just did something where they were like injecting the spinach with nanomites. Kind of like, literally like some fucking superhero shit.
Yeah.
And when there's something wrong, like if they're dealing with like higher stress, like in the environment that they're in, it sends them an email.
They send a naughty email.
Yeah, like.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, dude. It's weird.
This is insane.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Did you ever, a couple years ago, I believe it was Facebook, they had AIs that started talking to each other. And basically they deemed the English language inefficient.
Yeah, they started
So,
communicating in other languages,
yeah,
so they're like, what the
they
fuck?
started
What?
communicating in code to the point where like the engineers who made the AI got like nervous. They're like, we don't understand what they're saying to each other.
So they turned them
they
off.
pulled the plug on the whole thing. Like, I was like,
What?
yeah, it was pretty scary.
Oh my God. I feel like that kind of gave me the chills.
Yeah. It made me think of Terminator. I was like, dude, we're all
Seriously.
done.
Yeah.
That's freaking crazy.
I went to Cali recently and we were watching iRobot, and I was like, fuck, man, we're already there.
Yeah. Dude, that's so much more realistic than a zombie apocalypse.
Seriously, yeah. It's fucking creepy for sure.
man.
We got driving cars now. Like,
Let me tell
Like,
you.
I just can't get over the fact that on the Joe Rogan podcast, Elon Musk went on and they were just talking about like the IA and stuff like that. And, just trying to investigate a little bit more, like, how did this all and I'll never forget this. Elon Musk was just like, I try to warn them. It's too late.
he's like, I told him not to do it, but, it's nobody wanted to listen. It's too late.
So,
Rogan's like, this sounds like a scary movie.
Seriously.
yeah, and then he sells 50,000 flamethrowers.
I know, dude. Yeah, seriously.
But dude, so Pittsburgh is actually the main hub for the Uber manufacturing center where they're making the autonomous cars. And I won't say how I know, but I'm in the know with.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so
Right.
there's the Uber main center. I mean, I went to their warehouse once, and there's like 1,000 like autonomous Volvos like ready to go. And they really are trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of their drivers sooner than later. Like they want to be fully
What?
autonomous. Like
I guess makes sense for COVID.
real quick, like super quick,
Dude.
So
Oh my gosh.
but yeah, I actually
That's wild.
I know a handful of people
Seriously.
that work there and work with them, and yeah, they're pushing. I mean, granted, one of the cars like killed somebody in California not too long ago, like a year or two ago, so it
Oh,
like
wow.
slowed the process down.
Yeah.
But they're right back to it where they're like trying to go fully autonomous.
Oh,
right
I'm
soon.
sure. It's inevitable, man. It's gonna happen eventually. Damn, dude. So yeah, okay. So if they're working on it now, so in the next couple of years, we're just gonna have cars driving people around without people driving them.
I mean, already. I mean, Pittsburgh has 4 or 5 different companies that are doing that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Uber's just one of them.
Wow.
And like they're one of the other companies that I worked with. They're doing like the bougie side. They're like Uber's working with Volvo. Like this other company's working with BMW. And
Oh my
like,
God.
trying to get their high end
Dang.
ones. So
That's
Yeah.
badass and
Yeah.
kind of scary at the same time.
yeah, but also like those ones are weird because to my understanding, like the new Teslas can have like some autonomous driving, and they don't have the hyper big sensors like the autonomous Volvos in Pittsburgh. Like they have like a huge cone that spins on the top, and they have like these things in the mirrors that face the road. They're basically. I believe like sonar or something where they're like bouncing off of things so they know where
When
everything
they're close
is.
to stuff. Yeah.
But like the Tesla looks like a normal car. Like when
Yeah.
you see the autonomous cars in Pittsburgh driving, you know
It
that
looks
it's
like it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Have you seen the Tesla semis?
I've seen an article of them. They're not launched yet though, to my understanding.
Same thing. They have a big ass dish on it.
Yeah. I maybe I didn't see that then. I remember seeing like a pretty. I mean, it looked good for like a semi truck. It was like super smooth, but I don't remember seeing like a big dish or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that the one on the left, the second top, was the one I saw, like the
Wow.
Oh, okay.
one.
Oh, these are a little bit different than the ones I was seeing.
Yeah.
These ones actually look like there's people in them. The one that I saw, it was like,
Well, I think they still will have people, but it's like the person can sleep and like hang out all day, and they're basically like going to gas stations and things like that. So like you pay them $7 an hour, not $100,000 a year.
Right.
Wow.
So I think they'll still have like maintenance persons, like in case like a light like goes out,
something
it's like
happens,
you
right? Or
replace
you need
it.
to have somebody there.
Yeah. So, but I'm pretty sure the goal is to have.
Yeah, that's way
someone-
different than the one I saw.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the goal is to have like someone you're paying like 1/12 the price. You know.
Wow.
Which is wild. And then a truck that never stops.
Right.
You don't have
Seriously.
to
Yeah.
stop for somebody to sleep.
Yeah.
That like
exactly.
changes everything.
Yeah. But like there's still, I mean, most trucks are carrying things, you know?
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you're still going to have someone that has to like open the back gate and like, even if
Right.
a belt comes out. But yeah, another thing that we worked on is at Walmart, they're working on this robot that's like basically the size of like a refrigerator that has like a bunch of arms that we'll go down aisles and scan everything that needs restocked. And
I've seen that already. They already have that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have arms. It looks like a little R2D2 little thing, and it just rolls up and down the aisles, and it just scans everything.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And if you get close to it, it's like, do not approach. Do not approach. It's fucking weird, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I actually, I helped work at a mechanic center, like shop basically, where we were helping like a bunch of those companies. That's why I know a lot of that information.
That's crazy, dude.
And
how do you have your hands in everything?
I actually don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I might have to edit that out. But yeah, basically, long story short, like, it was my buddy's shop, and like I just needed a job while I was in grad school to like have flexible hours so I could go whenever I wanted. And I would just like run machines that were like make prototype parts. So like,
oh, what?
We made prototype parts for like that Walmart machine. We made prototype parts for all the Uber cars. We made it for like the competitors, like Argo was one of them, and like other things like that. And yeah, it was pretty fun. Like, I mean, I literally got blamed for that person who died in California as a joke. They're like, if you would have made that part better.
What? Oh my god.
You're like, well, you were quality, man. You should have looked at my part. Huh?
No, I mean, obviously a joke. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I was like a grunt. Like, I didn't do any of the engineering. Like, I basically cleaned the parts before they got sent out and like put them in boxes. But
I saw this other video the other day too. It was like talking about police dogs. It was like even police dogs are getting fired.
Yeah.
And it was them like. They went into it looked like a school or something to do like a drug check or something, and they're like walking out with this kid in handcuffs, and they got like his backpack or something.
Yeah.
And then after that comes out like this robot dog. Like they had it literally.
Yeah, I have seen those.
It looked like from the show. I think you showed me the video actually. From that show Black Mirror.
Yeah, I remember the show.
And there's one episode where like the little robot. Yeah, it looks like that. Literally, robot dog.
What?
Literally looks like it's the blue one.
Wow.
I kind of like the toy one in the middle.
It looked exactly like that. It was creepy as hell. Yeah. But literally exactly like Black Mirror. It was super fucking creepy.
I know, and I feel like all this with like, cars driving on like themselves and stuff like that kind of reminds me of the show. I don't know if you watched it, but it's called Upload. I think it's on, is it on Hulu? I think it might be on Hulu. Is that the one
where like if you die, they can like upload you to like a database or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, I see. They like upload your consciousness to like a database.
It was called Altered Carbon on Netflix. That was like the premise of it, which is actually a pretty cool like action film, but I don't know if that's the same thing or not.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's pretty good. I liked it. Second season not as good as the first, but first season was pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy time to be alive.
Seriously.
But even therapists aren't safe. Like, there's literally like therapy robots now that they're trying to work on that have have like the perfect response every time. And it's like, I mean, the honest truth is with like Andrew Yang and like universal basic income is going to be a thing in the next like 25 years probably. Where it's like, I mean, the statistics are suggesting that by 2030, like 60% of jobs right now will no longer need humans.
Wow.
So like, you figure if 60%, like, I mean, employment is like pretty high right now too, So it's like if 60% more people can't get jobs because they just aren't necessary, then
we're going to have something like that.
Yeah, but it's actually a good thing though, because it in my opinion, it's probably going to create like a renaissance period where it's like everyone is going to have a ton of free time.
Yep.
And like, even if you're only getting like $35K a year for like government subsidized like income, like you're still going to be able to like do a lot of stuff and like live a good life, And I think like that's actually on the horizon, which like might be a pretty good time for like the next generation of just
right.
Because you think about it, like even just Walmart alone, like they're not good. They don't have cashiers anymore. And they're not going to have stalkers, So it's like after that, you need a security guard, and that's it, So it's like they went from having like 40 employees to like 3.
But even then, like I do with my job now, like I'll go out into parking lots and I'll be doing jobs, and there's a tech building in Longmont. I think it's Longmont. Yeah, there's a tech building out there, and they have 2 or 3 little robots that are like little security guards. They just roll around the parking lot.
Like a club.
Wow.
Well, it just got cameras everywhere. And it's just like, if anybody's messing with cars or anything, like it'll just stop and just record the whole thing. So it's like, dude, like.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Dude, that reminds me of when coronavirus started in China and they had like the drones driving around like yelling at people.
Oh,
dude.
Yeah. And like the police literally went on record saying it's the most fun they've ever had at a job. Like they're like flying around with drones.
Go
and, like,
inside.
with like a loudspeaker, and they're just like yelling at people.
That's hilarious.
So that sounds like a good time. But yeah, I mean, realistically though, like I do think by like in the next 20 years, like think about like how fast technology is moving now compared to then. And especially if you got Elon Musk like putting chips in people's brains and everyone has the internet in their brain, like
that Neuralink.
Yeah. So.
And then we're going to space.
But how do you think that's really going to go about though?
It's probably going to start with people that are near death, that are like facing like some pretty serious brain injuries, that they're like, hey, let's try this. If you die, you're already dying. But if not, like you're going to be like a god. Wow. And then like once they can test that on enough people, test it on like the general public. But I mean, that's like how a lot of treatment starts. It's like, hey, like this is the Hail Mary. Like we don't have anything else we can do. So let's try this. And
why not? You know?
Yeah. And then
on another part of that spectrum, I have always told myself when I am on my deathbed that that's when I want to try all the hard stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
seriously,
that's fair.
Let's do a little line of Coke.
The issue with that is when you're on your deathbed, you're probably
not healthy enough.
Heavily medicated on other things. So
right.
Like it's probably gonna not give you the same effect. It actually might be deadly, but like
screw it.
You get the same effect from just like pulling the plug, but you know,
same amount of fentanyl as Mac Miller. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Actually, so Mac Miller grew up like in my neighborhood.
Oh, he's from the Burg.
Yeah.
Dang.
But he grew up pretty rich, so like he was in like a nicer neighborhood than me. But yeah, my buddy who I worked with at the machine shop, he's like on a first name basis with Mac Miller. Like,
what?
He was like, hey, we're gonna Malcolm's house later. I was like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, dude, Mac Miller. And I was like, cool. I didn't go, just because I didn't really care.
Yeah.
But
I know, right? Yeah.
I guess. I mean, the issue with that, Wiz Khalifa also grew up in Pittsburgh, and I've been in the same building as Wiz Khalifa like a handful of times.
Dang,
and
that's cool.
And it's actually annoying how many people are just trying to talk to him, and like I assume it's the same like Mac Miller was, like where it's like, I mean, he was a celebrity around the country, but in Pittsburgh, he's like a hero.
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
Like literally, if you're in it's called like the South Side of Pittsburgh. It's like where it was actually on the Pat McAfee podcast last week because Aaron Donald got in a fight down there. I don't know if you're into football at all or not, but he played for the University of Pittsburgh. He's like one of the best defensive players in the league right now, and I guess he still parties in Pittsburgh. But he got in like a huge fight down there last week, and Pat McAfee was talking about, and he said how South Side of Pittsburgh has more bars per capita than any other place in the country, where it's like, in this amount of space, it has more bars than any other place. And it's like,
so they're just wilding.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like 2 to like 4 a.m. there, it's just like the Wild West. Like you'll literally see people getting like stomped in the street. It's like kind of crazy. But like I saw Wiz Khalifa in South
Pittsburgh.
Side. Yeah. I mean, I hate the South Side, so I'm a little biased. But Wiz Khalifa would always be walking down in South Side, and there's literally like a parade following him. It's like, I'm just like, dude, that'd be so annoying. Like literally like, I would say probably more than like 50 people are just like power walking to like catch up to him when he's like walking in the South Side and things like that. And it's just like,
that's got to be so crazy though, man.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. Like
it's kind of lame.
I don't know. Like I don't really idolize anyone. Like if I could meet any celebrity, it probably would be like David Goggins.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that would be pretty crazy though. Yeah.
That makes me nervous thinking about it.
Yeah. Like, I was like, this Achilles would be gone after that weekend.
I know. Yeah, seriously.
But like, I don't really idolize any human really.
That's pretty crazy. That's probably a healthy way to live, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, even if I did, like, if I like met Taylor Swift, I would try to like act like she was like a normal person. Like, I would really try to focus on like treating her like she's just anyone else.
Yo, what's up, T Swift?
Yeah. Selfie. Actually,
no, for sure. I mean, I definitely tell myself that too. I mean, everybody's normal. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just different statuses, I guess, you know, you can say. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're all human beings.
Yeah. My favorite is when like celebrities will like post about how they met someone at the airport who didn't know who they were and they had like a great conversation. And I'm just like, I assume a normal conversation with a celebrity is like so rare for them, where it's like,
right.
They just, yeah.
So like, I would probably just be like, like,
what's up, man?
How's your cat?
Yeah.
Or like something like that. But,
right.
I'm not too worried about meeting celebrities though. I'm not really out there in the world. Like,
I mean, I guess they are just fucking people like anybody else, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is a good way to put it.
Yeah. And you could probably choke them out if you wanted to too. So
Yeah. Right.
I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, dude, what if Goggins got into jiu-jitsu? Like, he would probably be like
Dangerous, bro.
Yeah. But then
Do
I was
you know who
thinking,
Jocko Willink is?
yeah, he's my boy. I've read like every single one of his books.
Dude, he's another one that makes me feel really soft. But he's big in jiu-jitsu, man.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine rolling with him. That just sounds horrible.
Yeah. Well, especially because he's been doing it for like, what, 25, 27. He started in 93, I think. So.
Okay. So longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. So he's,
And he's just another big fella.
Yeah. Yeah. I watch his podcast with Echo Charles every once in a while too. I do think it's a little masculine.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Getting up every day at 4:30.
Yeah. Well, just like some of his ideas.
Black and white, everything.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it's too hard for me.
Well, some of his ideas, I'm just like, like, if I had a kid right now, I don't know if this is the message I'd want them to be hearing. Like, it's like pretty like military, disciplinary, and like, like he had a podcast on. I forget what he was talking about. I can't remember. I'm actually kind of bummed I can't think of it. But it was one of these things where he was just saying like, his message was just like the opposite of what I would tell a kid that I'd be working with, where it's just like,
so it just hits you. You're just like,
yeah,
that's a little strange.
Yeah, and like it makes sense, like maybe for like a 30-year-old man who like can't do something, but like if you're like a 16-year-old in high school and you listen to Jocko, it's like that might not be the best advice sometimes,
That definitely is kind of a weird dilemma. I feel like the hard part about that is I feel like for what he does or like his position in this world, I feel like we need people like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like that.
No, I mean,
and I just feel like if I was in his position doing like, or if I was in his shoes, I probably would not be making the same exact decisions.
No, facts. I mean, we need Navy SEALs, that's for sure.
Like, we need those hard souls, man. 'Cause I'm not like that.
Yeah. But like even Goggins, like some of his messages, I'm just like, man, like,
dude, it's like, too hard.
Yeah.
Too hard.
Yeah. And then like with the kids I work with like that addict mind, it's like I could see them slipping into like the deep end of Gogginism, whatever the word is. And, like,
Gogginism.
Yeah. But like
Gogginites.
I always tell the kids that like, dude, like this is like supposed to like inspire you, but like I don't need you doing 500 push-ups before.
You're like okay, welcome to the first day of class. The first thing I want you to do is block Cam Haynes, Jocko Willink, and David Goggins.
No, we have face packets at my job, and one of Jocko's books is one of the books we make all the kids read. It's The Way of the Warrior Kid, which like it's actually a really awesome book. It's super relatable, where it's like a kid who like doesn't feel like he's smart, he's out of shape, and like just doesn't feel like he's good at anything, which is like 100% of the kids I work with. So that's one of the books that all the kids read. And I've also had a couple kids read his other book, Extreme Ownership, where
I've read that one.
Which like the kids who read it all loved it, and I liked it too. I thought it was really cool when he compared like battle tested strategies to like the real world, and like it kept the book exciting too. Like I was ready. I was
just can't relate to some of those things.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of Jocko. But yeah, I'm just thinking like, man, if I had like a 15-year-old boy right now, like would I want him like listen to a Jocko as like gospel? And probably not. But also a lot of stuff is fantastic though.
Yeah, for sure. It is really motivational.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely
that's usually the first place I go to when I'm feeling soft. Honestly, seriously.
Have you read Can't Hurt Me?
Yeah, David Goggins.
Yeah.
That's another one. It's basically kind of what you were saying. I haven't read the other one with Jocko, but it kind of seems very similar to Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah, well, The Way of the Warrior Kid, it's only like 70 pages, and it really is for like
a short read.
Yeah, for like middle school kids. Like that's literally what it's for. But yeah, it's really awesome. Basically, it's like a kid who like kind of doesn't like himself, and then his uncle, who's a Navy SEAL, moves in for the summer between like deployments and like spends the summer with him and like turns his life around. So like at the end of like 6th grade, he's like not popular, and at the beginning of 7th grade, like he has like a beard and like ready to dominate.
Oh, what?
I mean, obviously not a beard, but like he was the man. He was the man when he went back to 7th grade, and was just
That's
like,
where you lost me, bro. I can't grow facial hair for shit.
dude, I can't either, man. I've been working. I don't shave this at all. It's there.
Well, this is 2 weeks in. I'm just kidding. It's like 2 days.
But yeah, that's one of the biggest blessings for COVID for me was the amount of books I've read in the last year.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't read, so maybe that's a little misleading. I listen to Audible.
Okay, I was gonna ask you. I was like, are you an actual paper book reader, or are you an Audible guy?
No,
it's hard to find the time, man. I feel like I want to read when I go lay down, like right before I go to bed, but I'm just too damn tired.
Yeah.
Way too damn tired.
Especially when you're waking up at 5.
Dude, to go to class, I know, man. So yeah, it's hard for me. But Audible books, like while I'm at work or driving somewhere, like
at least you get to kind of get a little bit more knowledge, new knowledge or whatever.
Stimulating versus like the radio. Radio gets old sometimes, you know.
Yeah, well, even like Rogan's podcast got old to me too.
Yeah,
you know,
I can't podcast all the time.
Yeah, so like when there's someone on that I like, I listen to it, but I don't. I used to listen to every podcast he had, and I don't do that anymore. But I have a 30-minute drive in and drive out from work, so like I grind out like an hour of a book a day.
And you can roll through some books just doing that, dude.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the amount it sticks. Like I was worried that I wasn't gonna like retain any of it. But
you're driving.
Yeah, but like I don't know if driving makes it stick even harder. But, like, but yeah, definitely. I think in 2020 I read like 14 books on like Audible. So,
wow,
like I was doing like more than a book a month.
What's your favorite?
Can't Hurt Me, definitely.
Damn. Okay.
Like that's the only book that. I don't like saying read it because I don't freaking read, but like completed. Like it's the only book I've completed 3 times. Like I've literally listened to it 3 times now.
Wow.
Just because like when I find myself in a rut, like I know there's like 6 things I need to do, and like one is diet. Like am I eating like at least a diet where like even if it's not clean, I don't feel like gross after I eat things. So like am I eating like Taco Bell? Like that's like one of the things I do right away. It's just like clean up the diet, and like I'm not like a calorie counter or like doing no carbs or anything, but just like doing a diet where like makes me like feel physically and mentally good. Next thing is like working out. Am I working out at least 4 or 5 times a week, you know? So like those are 2 on the list. Another thing is like, am I talking to someone? And like there's basically like a list of like 6 things that I think anyone can do to make themselves get out of a rut, and like it's different for like me. But it's just like, what are the things that when you're highly function, what are you doing? And what are you out of those things? What are you not doing now? And like my opinion and other people I've like talked to, it like basically comes down to like 5 or 6 things that can like basically send you into a rut or like out of a rut. Like the obvious ones are like sleep, diet, exercise, social skills, and like a self-care thing. So if you're into reading, that's it. If you're into like going on walks, that's it. But like
clock in for yourself.
Yeah. So like if you do those like 5 things, it like literally can like get you out of a rut pretty quickly. And also if you find yourself like slipping into a rut, it's like usually those 5 things that start slipping like the fastest, because like you're probably not going to give up on your relationship, number 1. You're not going to give up on work, number 1. You're not going to stop paying your bills, number 1. You know, so it's like the things that you can slip on, which is like the sleep, the diet, and physical activity.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah. So like I just have my list, which really is like a handful of things that when I start slipping, I look at those things, and 100% of the time, like 3 of them have slipped out of the way. Next 2 weeks, I get those things done, and I'm feeling better.
Back on track.
Yeah, it's like like humans aren't like this like mythical creature that are like unpredictable. Like everyone thinks like humans are super unpredictable, but like they're really not. You know, and it's like I don't know, like
we're just very habitual.
Exactly.
In everything that we do.
Exactly.
Our behaviors, our emotions, the things that we like, don't like, all that. Everything is very habitual.
And even across cultures, it's like not that different either.
Yeah.
So like in all cultures, if you're eating a Dorito diet, like you're probably not going to feel well, whether you're like in India or like in Colorado, you know? But yeah, I don't know. So that's something that I always like to think about too, is like, and that's what I coach kids on too. It's like, what's the difference makers when you are high achieving and not high achieving? And it's usually things that are like small things, you know, like, and I do coach kids when they leave my program to have like a daily checklist. And eventually it turns into like a weekly checklist and a monthly checklist. But like the first couple weeks they're gone, it's like, these are the 12 things you need to do every day for the first couple days. And, I mean, it's really basic. Like sometimes it is like Jocko and like Goggins, like make your bed, you know, brush your teeth. Like, did you eat 3 meals today? Did you like, was there something today you were supposed to do that you didn't do, was like a question I usually ask them. And like, I really encourage them to like put it on like a sticky tab on their mirror, like, you know, and like that way they see it before they go to bed. And,
well, it's Goggins that does that, right? Writes on the mirror or whatever.
Yeah. I've stole some things from Goggins. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's just one of those things that I think that, like depression will sneak up on you if you're not aware of those kind of things. But it's like I also get in ruts, you know, and I just like, over the years, I've just really come up with like my anti-rut. Like,
your happy place.
Yeah. Well, not even happy, but like there's
I just think of Happy Gilmore all the time. It's like, go to your happy place, right?
Well, no, I just think it's like more of just like, because you can be high functioning and not super happy, you know?
Yeah.
But like I don't think happiness is the answer, but like if you are depressed and miserable, that's not okay. And that's where like other things are going to fall apart. So like, this is more of like less about being happy, but like more about like fighting like the shadow chasing me, you know? I don't know how relatable that is for all people, but like, I just feel like if I don't do things, like I'm just going to get sad or like just feel lazy or like negative self-talk and things like that. And I know when I'm meeting my daily checklist, that negative self-talk just disappears, you know? On like days where I do jujitsu in the morning, like there's way less negative talk than days where I don't. And I'm not saying like I'm talking to myself like I hate myself, but it's like if I feel like I cut someone off in traffic, like I might be a lot nicer to myself if like I did jujitsu in the morning versus like if I skipped it, I'm like, man, I'm so lazy. I'm not paying attention today. I'm stupid, you know, and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is important to try to stay productive and try to like kind of, you know, just like what you said is like checking in for yourself, you know, doing something that will make you happy or that will make you feel good in the end of the day. So
yeah.
I've always thought about this as like do you feel any weird pressure like outside of your, like in your normal life because you are like a therapist? Do you feel like it's in regards to like your relationship, like are you like a shitty person to argue with?
I don't argue. I really don't. Like I probably do suck to argue with because I'm kind of like Trump where I can like wiggle and deflect. You know? So,
that's what I'm saying. Just because I feel like it's almost like you've studied this, like it's kind of like your job, you know? So it's like, like when you are not clocked in your job, is it kind of like?
I typically don't tell people I'm a therapist. Like I'm getting a haircut and someone asks what I do, I say I work with kids. Because I've done way too many free therapy sessions. like I will tell like a haircut lady, like, I'm a therapist. And they're like, oh yeah, like my kid, he has autism. It's so tough. And I'm just like, man, like, I just wanted to get a haircut. But it definitely, I mean, I just like am very mental health conscious where like something that I think about a lot too is, have you ever been like, if you're in a room full of David Goggins, like highly motivated, highly inspiring people, you cannot help but be inspired and motivated. And it's the same thing with negative people. And like, if you are in a room full of negative people or people that are bitching or people that are unhealthy and things like that, like it sneaks up on you. So I'm always aware of that. And like, I might be insensitive towards people that are like just bitching to me, like outside of work, where like inside of work, I will commonly ask kids, like, do you want comfort or do you want solutions? You know? So it's like, are you complaining because you want me to help you feel better? Or are you complaining because you want things to change? And like outside of work, I just do solutions. I'm like, dude, like if you want this to change, do this, this, and that, which like actually goes well with like the list of 6 things to do when you're like high achieving. But I'm not going to spend an hour of my time like listening to a problem, being like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that's got to be really difficult. Like,
Does it give you any pressure as regards to like having a relationship?
I don't know.
Like, do you ever get like that? Well, you're a therapist, you should know.
No,
Or
my relationship is so the opposite of toxic. Like I honestly, I mean, we'll get in little like scuffles, I guess. Like, hey, like, can you do the dishes? And like, I'll wait like an extra hour to do them, and like she gets annoyed. But, like,
I think that's just normal.
yeah, but like
aspect.
that's like the highest intensity. Like, like I don't really let things get too heated because I think I prevent, I don't intervene, you know, like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just feel like that's very interesting because I feel like it's almost like you have like a different perspective on things. So it's like instead of arguing, you're probably just like, well, like, fuck, man, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry I waited so long to do the dishes. You know, like it's just I just didn't feel like doing the dishes at the time. But like I'm gonna go do it right now. Like it's okay. Like whatever.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like, I mean, even back to like the way beginning with like the rules of fair fighting, you know, it's like, are you pissed at me right now because I didn't do the dishes? Or are you pissed at me because I'm not doing anything in the house? You know? But no, I mean, I rarely get into like big arguments. And I really do try to stick to one issue at a time, which is like the saving grace. Like, I feel like a lot of huge, like, I feel like most people and most like families I work with bottle so many things up. And eventually, like, it cracks and everything comes out at once. And that's where, like, the huge arguments come from.
Okay.
But I try to address things before they get there. And that's what I mean by prevent instead of intervening. Like, you're intervening when the crock pot explodes. But, like, if you're making sure, like, the pressure isn't building up too high, it's preventing.
And you're good. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do pretty regular, like, just checkup talks, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, like, I structure it pretty basic where it's, like, once a week, like one good thing, one bad thing, one good thing. Like, so like this week, I really like this happen. The one thing I think we need to work on is this. The other good thing is this. It's called the sandwich approach. It's like really basic psychology stuff. But then it's like, let's plan a fun activity for the week and let's plan like a to-do list for the week. And like having like a checkup like that, like it forces you to have tough conversations that you'd probably avoid. So like if there is a small thing bothering you, you know, it's kind of like a safe place to bring it up. So it's like, hey, like I wouldn't bring this up, but like when you don't put the toothpaste cap back on, like that fucking annoys me, you know? So like, can we like work on that this week or something like that? And like at the peak of COVID, we were doing it weekly just because like I think COVID was hitting us pretty hard. But now we just do it as needed. But like something like that is like an intervention I've implemented like in my own personal life that I also coach the kids on I work with. But yeah, it's I don't know, like I think being a therapist, it is weird because like I've had my sister, like I've gotten arguments with like my siblings are a different game. Like I will argue with my siblings, and like my sister has said like, wow, like I can't believe like you're a therapist and you would say that. And I'm like, well, like I'm very different professionally than I am like at like Thanksgiving dinner, you know? And,
dude,
like,
yeah.
So like, yeah, she said something like that, and like that actually like, hurt my feelings. So I was like, do you really think like I would, if you were my client, I would say that? But yeah, like I don't know, like it is weird being a therapist, like but it's also nice though, because I have had like my best friend's mom hit me up one time and said like they were really struggling with like her little sister or his little sister, and was just asking for advice. And I was like, I actually told them to do that family meeting like once a week, and they said within like a month like the issue was gone, and like that was like really rewarding to hear.
Wow.
You know?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So like when it's nice like that, and like I think it also helped because she prefaced it like, hey, like I don't want to ask for like free therapy, but like I really trust your judgment on these things. Like, what would you suggest right now? You know?
Like, yeah, don't worry about it. Here's my address, so you can send me the check in 2 weeks.
But no, I mean it's just like that's a big difference when like I feel like they're validating that they know that this probably is a little frustrating versus like the people that are just coming to me like, hey, like, what would I do right now?
Yeah.
And like,
oh, you're a therapist? Hey, dude, I've had this problem. You know.
Yeah. Or like on the airplane or like something like that. It's just like, oh, it's gonna be a long 3 hours. Like,
when I went to Cali, sitting behind me, it was like this guy. He was sitting next to this other guy, and right when we were getting ready to land, he was like, "What do you do for a living?" And the guy was like, "Oh, I'm a pilot."
Oh, dang.
And you could tell the guy was like insanely interested and just started hitting him with like random questions. And the guy, like, you could tell did not want to talk about it at all. He was just like, well, you know, hotels get really boring.
Yeah. That's fair.
I'm just like, oh, that's cool, man. He's like, so what's like your favorite hotel? And the guy's like, honestly, man, I stay in a lot of hotels.
Yeah.
They're not that great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, oh man, that's super crazy. Like, what towns do you always stay at? And like, just kept going. And the guy just kept giving him shorter and shorter answers.
Yeah, that's on
we
him
landed.
though too, because like you should be able to like enforce boundaries too. You know,
Yeah.
like for me, like
That's hard, man. Especially with random strangers. I feel like that could be harder.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's even easier sometimes. Like, for me, I'd just be like, yo, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I would like to talk, but I'm in the middle of this audio book and, like, it's getting really good. You know,
Yeah.
something
You
like
even
that.
have headphones on.
Yeah, well,
Oh, yes, huh?
you know, like, I'm a little crazy, so. Like,
You're like, no, I'm listening to it. It's playing. I just don't.
yeah.
What?
No, but I think you're right, though. I think it's just, like, really just kind of just being honest. Like, hey, like, I appreciate that you're interested in that, but,
Yeah. Maybe that's
Don't
your
wanna
male
talk about it.
privilege for not knowing how to turn people away. Like,
I know, dude. I could see that with your personality. It seems like it comes off like that would be really easy for you. I'm too nice sometimes, I feel like.
Yeah, as females are like always used to being like, I can't talk right now, but you're a dude who's not getting harassed by people. So,
Damn. That's a good perspective, yeah.
that is actually. Yeah, because I feel like I would automatically be like, no.
yeah. Yeah, you never had someone checking out your leggings at the gym. So.
Oh,
No.
jeez.
Just means
Oh
they're
my
not
gosh.
tight enough.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
But yeah, I mean, I would just say like in that situation, I actually don't feel bad for the pilot just because it's like he should be able to say like, hey man,
Yeah.
like I appreciate your interest, but like I'm not really trying to talk right now or something like that. I mean, it doesn't even need to be a lie. Like sometimes lying is just easier for me. It's just like, well, I want to listen to this book or like, hey, like whatever. But like in his situation, like I think being passive aggressive in that situation is like kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Because it kind of makes you look like a douche.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
it's just be like, honestly, man, yeah, dude, I'm a pilot, but hey, I'm in the middle of this book, like,
or like whatever the reason is, like, hey, I'm having a bad day today, and like I don't really want to chat, but like I appreciate your interest or something like that. And like I don't think that's gonna hurt the other guy's feeling,
Right.
and it's like it's more compassionate at that point. It's like, hey, like you can be a dick to someone, maybe ruin their day, or you can just be like, hey, like
I know,
I'm
right?
really not trying to talk, like sorry. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but.
Yeah.
Also, I can be a little confrontational sometimes too. So
Yeah.
I like to stir the pot.
yeah.
You're like, what am I feeling today?
Yeah. I don't know, but
Woke up today and chose violence.
yeah, jiu-jitsu helps combat that too, though. But no, I mean, I don't know. But as like being a therapist, though, like it is nice to like have people reach out, like, hey, I'm really struggling right now, and like also, like my friends that have reached out to me saying like just being comfortable, like telling me their story, like it's been nice. Like, hey, like I know you're a therapist, and like I really appreciate the work you're doing because like I struggled with this, and that, and like it's nice to know that like there's still people trying to help people like the person I was, you know?
Right.
So like I've had so many friends tell me that, and that's always rewarding. But I don't know. I mean, I am strategic of who I tell what I do.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sure you have to be. Yeah. I mean, it is your job.
Yeah, but
But you never really like clocked out, are you? Like, yes and no.
dude, it's tough. So, yeah, but if I like, there's been times where I've just been like walking and like I'll see someone like tearing up at like a bus stop, and I'll just be like, I'll like check in, be like, hey, you all right? Like, because that's a pretty desperate place to be crying, you know? Like, you're probably not all right if you're crying at a bus stop, you know? So, like, I've probably done that, like, more than 10 times in my life. Or, like, just, like, I see someone who, like, visibly is struggling, you know? And I'll just be like, hey, like, because, like, kind of like the same story with my social worker in high school. Sometimes a really quick conversation can change the trajectory of someone's, like, outlook. So I'll check in.
No, I think that's huge, man.
Yeah.
We talked about that on Jesse's podcast where I feel like with most cases, people just kind of want somebody to just check it. Just like, hey, are you all right, man? Like, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
Like, obviously it doesn't look like you're doing it. Like, can I do something for you? You know?
No, my favorite question is actually the opposite of like, what, like, can I, like, do you need this or this or that? Like, usually what I do is like, what can I do to support you? And like, because I've worked with so many people that are like, they seem like they're struggling. I'm like, hey, like, I know a great therapist. I'm like, do you think I need fucking therapy? you know, and like that can actually be like kind of like confrontational.
Offensive, yeah.
Yeah, but like when I work with people, I say like, what can I do to support you right now? And like if the answer is nothing, I respect it. But if the answer is often something different than what I am thinking, then I'll go do that too. Like a lot of times the kids I work with are just like, I want to go on a walk, and I'm like, let's go on a walk, man. So like,
Yeah.
but yeah, in those situations, like I just kind of just like talk to them. I have gave people like suicide hotlines before that too. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
like like morally, I feel like I should give you this resource. I don't know if you know about it, but like there's suicide hotlines that are national that you can call for free and like talk to a therapist. So, like I just make sure like one person in particular, I made sure that they knew about that before I left the conversation. Not for like any ethical code I have to follow, but just for like being a good person, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you just needed to cover the bases.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I mean, sometimes it is a quick conversation that can really help someone. You
Yeah.
know? So I'll do that.
Where do you see yourself going with this the next, 5, 10, 15, 20? Like I'm assuming this is your career, right?
Yeah. It's tough to say. So I am not fully licensed yet. I'm what you call an LPCC, which is licensed professional counselor candidate. And basically you need 2 years with your master's degree. And you have to like pass a test to get like fully licensed.
To have your own practice, or is that to like
that's just like my certification.
literally to get? Oh, okay.
So I should have it already, but like when I moved to Colorado, my hours got reset. So like,
Oh, what?
yeah, it's kind of lame.
Dang.
But and it's not even a state to state thing. It's my old job screwing me over, which is like a whole different story.
Get a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, my bad. But yeah, so I guess I have this really crazy idea that I don't know how successful it would be, but I really like family therapy, and like I said, I like stirring the pot a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do. Actually, if someone steals this idea too, I'm cool with it because it would be cool. I don't know if I'll do it, but I think it's a good idea. So we'll see if it catches anything. But I want to do an escape room / family therapy setup where 1 week is in an office and another week is in an escape room. And the reason why is because, like, remember when I talked about like I can teach coping skills, but then they go back to the fire.
Yeah, this already sounds interesting.
Yeah. So I want to do family therapy where I'm teaching basic communication skills, reflective listening, mirroring, and like I statements, and then go to a stressful situation and watch the family try to do them and hopefully fail, so I have like more sessions with them. But if they do great, awesome. But basically try to teach them like effective communication. And then the next week would be in the office again, where it's like, hey, so last week we did the escape room. What'd you guys think? Did you guys notice like anything different? Was something easier? Was something harder? And then just do like every other week office, then escape room, office, then escape room. And I think that'd be really cool and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've wanted to try for a while. I figured once I'm fully licensed, it's a little easier to sell myself. Because right now, like, people are gonna be like, oh, he's not even 30 yet. He's not fully licensed. Like, we'll just go somewhere else. But
what does being 30 have to do with anything?
I mean, it's not really a big secret that like people prefer older therapists, like no one wants like that.
Because of experience?
Yeah, exactly.
Just need to dye your hair gray.
Yeah, get that touch of gray.
Get that fucking just for men.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the honest truth is like I get better every month I do this job. So like there is some merit to it. Like I do think back to like 2014 when I first graduated undergrad, and some of the things I was saying, I was like, man, I'm so stupid. And
like I really fucked up some people's lives.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is like I wasn't in a big enough position back then. Like I was just like a day-to-day staff.
Shadowing kind of thing.
Yeah, but like I'm sure like even like a year from now, I'll listen to this and just be like, wow, like I've changed a lot since then.
That's good though.
Yeah.
You want those things. If
Right.
you're in the same place
a
year from now than you're at today, I mean,
I hope
you should be working on some things.
Yeah, and like, I mean, mental health is such a big like window. Like it's like there's no way that like there's never competence. You're always working to be more competent and like the best possible. So like I feel pretty good working with like anxiety, depression, anger, like substance use. But like if I had like a client come in with like schizophrenia, I would be like, well, I'd be hitting the books, you know? Like I mean, like I gotta revisit this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And like ideally I would love to be like just really confident with everything. I'm not there yet, but hopefully in like 10 years I am, you know, or at least in 10 years, like I'm able to just say like, hey, like I'm an expert at this. I'm not great at this. If you want to work with me on this, you're going to have to bear with me that I'm not an expert on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at my place I work at now, I mean, it is kind of like, well, we'll accept like a bunch of different things. Like we have a kid who's non-binary, like gender identity. So like that person is not my client, but I would be lying if I said I was an expert on like non-binary stuff. Like,
Right. Can you even, is that even a thing that's old enough to be an expert at?
I mean, it's been around for a long time. The honest truth is it's kind of like, no, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to. Yeah. I mean, it's the number of people who are identifying as like non-binary or trans is a higher number than it should be, which kind of suggests that it is a social trend right now, which could be really offensive if you look at it the wrong way. But
okay. That makes sense. In
like,
other words, it's almost like it's trending.
Yes.
Which I can totally see how that can be
But
taken the wrong way.
And if anyone is upset by that, what I will say is that when multi-personality disorder came out, like the number skyrocketed because it was like a taboo topic and it had a lot of media attention and a lot of people were like, oh, like I have this. And then it went back down. So with that same logic applied to like non-binary or trans, it is possible that it is the same thing where it's like a social trending thing right now, which you might see decrease. But also, if we're going to be completely honest, I mean, 30 years ago, even if you were trans, you probably wouldn't say anything because it was a lot more deadly.
It's a different,
it's hard to say.
Yeah, that is kind of a weird, it's almost like school shootings, right?
Yeah.
Like school shootings wasn't really a thing until what, like 10, 15 years ago, like when it happened here with the Columbine shooting, and then there was a spike. And then you start seeing it happen everywhere else. And
so it's hard to say with that.
Definitely a touchy one.
Yeah, it's definitely, everyone I've talked to says it's a lot easier to be like LGBT now than it was like 50 years ago. And I don't think too many people would argue that.
It's because we're really woke right now, you know, so it's like.
Yeah, but it's hard to say like if where we're really seeing it more than ever is like kids experiencing it. So it's hard to say whether more kids are doing it so they're more open to saying they are now. And like in the 80s, it's like you would get like beat down if you said it. So like maybe it is that it's always been a thing. Because if you look way far back, like LGBT in like ancient Rome, like they were partying back then. So like it might just be that society has like put this stuff in the corner. Now it's coming back out, but it's hard to say.
This may be a little random, and this probably doesn't really pertain to it 100%, but it just made me think about it in my head. Did you know that Greeks, that's kind of where wrestling started?
Yeah.
And they used to wrestle naked.
Yeah, they used to throw down.
And they used to be able to grab fucking
I didn't know that.
dick and balls, bro. You should be able to, you were able to grab that.
Well, based on their statues, it probably would have been a little difficult.
It's a thing, dude. I swear.
Oh my God.
But yeah. Now I did know they wrestled naked. I also knew that they like even like the Spartans, like there was a lot of like sexual fluidity or however you say it, you know. Like it is, maybe it has
very
always
open,
been there. Yeah.
Very free.
Yeah. So.
But everything else was different. Like rape was a common thing.
Yeah, that is true.
And like just going in, swarming, like raiding people's villages and just killing all the dudes and leaving just the kids and that was normal, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, but like right now, it does seem like the amount of people who are identifying as like non-binary or trans is higher than ever, and it's like there is a real reality where it's just easier now than it's ever been, but there's also a reality where it is possible that it's just kind of trending right now. And like, because there's a lot of, I mean, Joe Rogan had a woman on his podcast that wrote a book about kids who started doing like hormone blockers and like surgeries to change genders, and then like their mid-20s and late 20s, when that prefrontal cortex is developed, they talk to their parents, they're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why did you why'd you let this happen?
I just think about some of the shit that I did when I was like 12, 15, and I was a fucking idiot, man.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't fucking know better. Like, some of the shit that I did was just like, it's like, really? Like, if I can go back, it's just like, are you fucking, like, really?
Yeah.
Really? Why is this even a thought in your in your head? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And like, there's the other side of it too, where like some people know that they are gay when they're really young,
Right.
you know? So it's like, I haven't walked that path, so I don't know. And like, especially with trans, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know enough research on that. And that's why I said, like, if I was working with a trans person right now, I wouldn't feel the most comfortable, because I'm just not up to speed on that. But like, I'm sure there is probably a significant population that starts those hormone blockers and starts doing X, Y, and Z in their teenage years, and they're proud of it down the road. But there is also a ton of evidence of people who have done that and have regretted it too. And like, at the trend we're at right now, where there's a lot of people coming out as non-binary and trans, I'm going to be interested to see what the numbers look like in 15 years, you know? Especially because the hormone blockers seem like they're pretty low risk. Like, they basically like block like testosterone or estrogen for X amount of time. But when you stop taking them, your body reproduces them again. Yeah. But like the surgeries, obviously, that's like
it's never, you can't go back.
Yeah.
Even if you think about other things, like, I mean, honestly, the next 15, 20 years, like, we are really living in like a real-time case study. Like, not only with COVID happening, not only with the whole there's so many letters. It's the whole alphabet now. I don't even want to mess it up.
Joe Rogan calls it the alphabet army. Which
honestly, that's probably a good way to put it, because there's more letters in there now. It's not just LGBTQ. It's like there's a couple more in there. I just don't know what they are. But even with that, even with like kids growing up with technology nowadays is way different than it was when I was a kid. You know, like, so
even the autonomy we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
You know, with, like,
cars. Like, if you have a kid now, by the time he's able to drive, cars aren't going to be the same at all. Like, and I remember when I was a kid, my dad was always like, yeah, you're going to have flying cars by the time you're able to, which, I mean, you grow up believing that. And now it's almost like, okay, honestly, that probably is 100% going to be a thing by the time I have kids, you know?
Or the world's going to burn down by then. But,
dude, you know. But hey, but then we're just going to hop on a plane, dude, and go to Mars with freaking Elon.
Yeah. I I
don't know about that.
Though,
that sounds wild.
That's the 1%ers, though. That ain't
seriously.
That ain't this room.
No, that's the 2012 right there, literally. Like the movie.
Yeah, but no, actually. So, like, do you see the Pentagon leaked like the
UFO stuff?
Yeah, the UFO stuff, and it's like, I do wonder, like, if like, why are we getting this information now? You know, and I'm wondering if like aliens, like, this is far out, but I'm wondering if like they're like, yo, like, climate change is like real and you guys are on a bad path, like, get your shit together, you're gonna die. And like, because I'm just thinking, like, why would we keep it a secret for so long and come out with it now? Like, unless like maybe like coronavirus is more serious than we realize it is or something like that. Like, why are we leaking this stuff now? I don't know.
Who knows, man? It could be so many things. Just like, what are these little ants shipping flying rockets out of their planet? Let's go check it out really quick. Or it's like, the whole thing. Global climate, like us blowing each other up with bombs, like
so many things.
And then with the volcano happened, did you hear about that?
Do I want to hear about it?
Jenny, look up a volcano that erupted really recently. It was like a week ago on an island.
Oh, was it in Iceland? I think I saw something like that.
I don't know if it was in Iceland, but basically, this was like a week or two ago. A volcano on an island erupted, and like, it was really bad. So they had to evacuate the entire island. But the problem was, if you were evacuating to the surrounding countries are only letting you in if you have gotten the vaccine.
Oh, dang.
And for what I remember reading, the problem was that at the time, not everybody was allowed to get the vaccine. Like, if you were under 25 or whatever, if you were like young. So in the end, basically anybody or anything that was living on the island just is gone now. There's no way. If you didn't make it out, animals didn't make it out, it's the whole island is devastated. Maybe we can look it up.
That's pretty
I was thinking about
awful.
this the other day, but I don't know exactly where it happened.
That actually reminded me, my second oldest sister was working in New York when 9/11 happened.
Oh, really?
And like she saw the planes.
What?
And she saw the first one and was like fleeing, and then the second one happened and she heard it. But she was working on a boat at the time and like just ran over to the dock, and the boat was taking people across like the river. But she said it was just like black clouds everywhere.
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah, she had crazy PTSD for like a couple years. Like she couldn't go to movie theaters, or like 4th of
jeez.
July fireworks like scared the hell out of her and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
But yeah, she saw it. It was pretty nuts. And like,
jeez.
there was so much cell phone usage at that time that you couldn't call or anything. And like, it's like before texting. So like we were trying to call her and like couldn't get a hold. They would just go straight to voicemail and things like that.
Just because everybody was trying to call people over there.
Yeah, it was nuts. But yeah, I definitely remember that.
Even we live in such a small. I went to high school with a girl whose father died in the building.
Wow.
So yeah,
didn't Pete Davidson's dad die or something like that?
Yeah, he jokes about it all the time.
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, that was. Do you remember 9/11?
When it happened, I must have been in like
young.
kindergarten, first grade, man.
Yeah.
So I don't remember it all, honestly. I want to be completely honest. I don't remember anything.
Dude, I have. They actually said that's the end of millennials, is like whether you remember 9/11 or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you might be the Tide Pod generation.
The Tide Pod. I don't want to be a part of that one.
But yeah, I have a really funny story about my experience in 9/11.
You remember it?
Oh yeah, dude. I was in my first 5th grade. I failed 5th grade, so I had to do it twice. So I was in 5th grade, number 1.
Okay. Well, I definitely remember 5th grade for sure.
But yeah, dude, it's like you could like the energy was different that day.
Oh, because you were in Berg, huh?
Yeah, I was in the school. So I was in school. I think it was like a Thursday or something like that, and like all the teachers were like whispering to each other and things like that. And like
So you're just like, this is weird.
Even in 5th grade, you knew something was up. Mm-hmm. And like throughout the morning, like the intercom would come on, like so and so come to the main office, like you have early dismissal, like all
Parents
throughout the
picking up the
day.
kids.
Yeah, parents picking up the kid. So we at lunchtime we're playing kickball, and we start a game. It's like 10-on-10. By the end of lunch, the game got canceled because so many kids left, because I guess parents like were on their lunch break, came and picked up their kids.
Wow.
So you're like, what the
Dude,
fuck?
by the end of the day, I swear to God, on the school bus home, it was me, my little brother, and my sister, and that was it. We were the only people left in like the building, dude.
Oh my gosh.
My
You're like, all right, what is happening?
They're in another state.
Yeah. So,
Nobody's coming to the
That's
Berg.
crazy.
yeah, it was wild, but I always laugh about that because like it was pretty funny.
Yeah, you're just like, where's everybody at?
Yeah, it was so weird.
So when did you find out? Like when you got home or something? Or
I remember in the afternoon, like it was me in class because no one else was there, and like the teacher pulled it up on TV, and
That's wild.
it didn't really affect me though. Like I was like,
yeah.
Well, 5th grade,
yeah, like I was just
especially because you don't really know any. You're kind of just like, that's crazy.
Also, I didn't really know where my sister lived, or like that it was in New York, you know, like I just thought it was like a plane hitting a building. I was like, whatever. But like as like the next morning, I remember like, or maybe it was that afternoon when I went home, like I remember seeing my dad crying, and that's when I was like, oh shit, like this
is fucking serious.
Yeah. Because we couldn't. Eventually, my sister sent my mom an email, and we got that. But like that's how we found out she was okay.
Dude.
Wow.
But like no one's thinking about checking their email like during 9/11, you know, especially like
I know.
2001.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
Email's brand new. Like,
Gotta wait for that dial up.
yeah, not literally. Bro, we did a dial up back then. But yeah, it was pretty interesting, pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
All right, so you got it pulled up. So it says people on the Caribbean island where a volcano went off are being evacuated on cruise ships, but not without a COVID-19 vaccine. So
Wow.
it says people on the island of St. Vincent are hoping to be evacuated by cruise ship. The island was hit by a volcanic eruption last week, making much of it uninhabitable. Some neighboring islands are accepting evacuees only if they have taken a COVID-19 vaccine. Scroll down a little bit.
Wow.
Let's see here. Blah, 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 evacuated, la, la, la. Cruise ships have been dispatched on the island that is being partly evacuated after the 4,000-foot high volcano La Soufriere. Friere? It's like foreign. But people have to be vaccinated before they board the cruise ships. So, yeah, I don't know if everybody got. More than 16,000 people are being evacuated from the red zones. Some are being temporarily housed in neighboring islands, but most of the islands will require vaccination before they take anybody in.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's scary, man. I can't imagine something going like that. You can't leave if you don't have a vaccine.
Like,
what? Judging by that map, it seems like they could go south.
Yeah. For what I was reading before, I didn't think that they can just go to a different part of the island.
Because that was my question. Are they just like letting people die? Which,
right.
Right.
Eventually, people would just be transporting people, whether other country or the neighboring islands let them. Like you can't just like I don't think any rational person's gonna be like, that country's not letting me in. I'm gonna get melted by lava. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, fuck, man.
That is
regardless, man. It is a crazy time to be alive.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can only get better, right?
Yeah. It's crazy too, like seeing that and then knowing that there's a huge volcano in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
That could end
so
the
scary.
world, apparently.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. I thought you were talking about that.
Oh.
You're like, what? Do we need to be here?
I know, right?
Yeah. Going to like...
like, what the hell do you do? Like, seriously.
Well, it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
I don't think it matters because
we're so close.
The smoke, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Like the ash from it would just destroy.
Yeah, because of radiation. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the smoke would literally cover the globe in weeks, and that would destroy all of our food, all of our water sources.
Yeah, and
you
the
wouldn't
ecosystem.
you wouldn't be able to go outside because the exposure of all the radiation would kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would.
It's just a RIP.
If it blows, yeah, everybody's done for sure.
That's crazy.
Besides Elon.
Besides Elon, yeah,
Elon's
Elon will be
good.
all right. He'll be chilling in space.
But
his I think I saw a post the other day. His wife, Grimes, is that her name?
I have no idea.
Grimes, I think that's her name. Elon's wife. But she got like a tattoo on her back of like alien scars.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, look that up, Jenny. That one's fucking wild too. Look up Grimes, alien tattoo. Grimes. I think that's his wife. Unless it's like some like music lady or something. Alien tattoo. Just put tattoo. And it's like on her back. Yeah.
What the hell? That looks creepy.
That is his wife, right? Yeah, there's a picture of Elon right there.
It reminds me of the crocodile hunter when he got stung by the jellyfish.
Yeah. Isn't that weird? You got a guy that's like sending people to space and then his wife is getting alien tattoos on her back.
Well, they're
That's
both
just
very weird. Like I actually feel bad
yeah.
for Rogan when he interviews Musk. Like it's like such an awkward conversation.
It is. The pauses weird me out.
And you can tell that he's like Rogan is digging deep into his tool belt working with Musk. Like,
right.
He's
for
just
sure.
Like, what do I say here? And I think that might be an interview where he's probably a little nervous for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Versus like other people where he probably doesn't care. But it's like,
well, Elon's a different type of genius though.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's too smart for conversations like that.
Yeah, but you can tell Joe Rogan's like he's putting more effort
working.
or like
See the
working
sweat
harder.
beads.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they're
What a
weird.
character, man. Look at that. That's fucking weird.
Yeah. And then
I mean, that's
So
cool though.
crazy.
I mean, I think
then they
tattoos are
got
badass.
Maui from Moana.
Oh, jeez. Oh my gosh.
That's like kind of offensive that those are alien tattoo.
Yeah, why is the rock in there?
Jeez.
Yeah, I saw it the other day and I was just like, oh, that's really strange.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy. I feel like he's just like super like mysterious. Like people want to know more about him.
Well, Rogan
something
said
right, man.
if there's any alien on the planet, it's probably Elon Musk.
Yeah.
What?
Like, he was like, he is most like
He is pretty
And
weird
even
though.
he said it too. He's like, dude, we could be AI. You could be AI. I don't know. He's like, this could all be a simulation.
Seriously, it's like what?
Yeah, well, there's no way to prove that any of this exists, and this isn't just our mind making it up, which
Right.
is like
The Matrix.
I know. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Well, like philosophers been saying that for like hundreds of years too, where it's just like that's like such a mind fuck. Where
It's only
Seriously.
It's only really smart people that are saying that though, because I feel like it's almost like they don't get it. Like they
Yeah.
come across things where like, is this really revolving around me?
Yeah.
Kind of deal?
Well, yeah, and George St. Pierre was talking the other day about how he doesn't believe in free will, and I was like, "What? like what else is there?" But
Until you got on the podcast with somebody else, right?
yeah, with another one of Rogan's boys.
Yeah. Another genius dude. I can't think of his name, but I did listen to that GSP one.
Yeah, Lexi Friedman.
Yeah, Lex Friedman.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, how do you not believe in free will, man? Like, I don't know. Like, I like to think that all the dumb things that happen to me is because I did something dumb. And it's like, if it's not free will and this is like destiny, like, well, fuck whoever made this plan.
You're like, this is
Seriously,
horrible.
like what?
Like, what's your mission, bro?
Yeah.
Like,
That is pretty wild.
yeah. Actually, that came up. I was doing a group not too long ago, and I was reading a book called Unfuck Yourself by some Scottish dude, and forget his name, so sorry. But one of the comments he said was the place you are in right now is directly because of how you reacted to a situation, but not the situation. And like I was asking these kids because I mean they dove pretty deep into addiction, and they also have like really wealthy parents, and like obviously the family dynamic might not be the healthiest, but it's like I wanted to see what they would say about like, are they responsible for where they're at right now, or are they going to try to blame the world for it? And I don't know, I think that was just like a pretty cool like accountability thing where it's like, you know what, like actually even with the same situation I was in, like if I would have done X, Y, and Z different, I probably wouldn't be in like a treatment center right now. And like none of those kids could dispute that. And like I kept on saying like, this isn't judgmental. Like I'm not trying to judge you, but do you really think that if you wouldn't have done like 3 or 4 things differently, like you wouldn't be in a very different place right now? And each one of the kids agreed with it, which is like the first time in history that a whole group agreed with something.
You're like, yes, I'm on to something.
Yeah, so it was pretty interesting.
Huh.
That whole thing is really interesting, man. I feel like I could talk to you about it forever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's never ending.
Yeah.
Even without giving away some of the crazy stories, you know? Like,
Right.
I can only imagine. Just because, I mean, from my experiences, dude, I did some wild shit, and I feel like I'm pretty typical,
Yeah.
you know? But
Yeah.
there is the other end of the spectrum, and there is always, like I said before, like there's that tipping point where you go a little bit, you know, too far into a certain degree of something, and
Yeah.
there really is no going back. So the human nature is just fucking wild, man. Everybody's so different. We all have different perspectives. And like yesterday we were hanging out with my little nephew, and he's 1, and it's fucking wild just to see him and like his dynamic, like his emotions. Like he can't talk yet, you know, but it's like, that's a little fucking human. Like it's fucking weird. Like he's got his own little thoughts. Like he's taking in like everything from the world different than everybody else is. And it's like, he's his own little person. It's weird.
But it's also interesting, in my opinion, about how even babies aren't that unique, though, too. You know, like even with like styles of play, like psychologists have basically broke down like play styles into like 3 different categories. It's like playing together, playing together but separately, where you're in like you're both playing with Legos but you're not interacting, and like playing completely apart. So like if you're like a baby over here and a baby over here in the same room, you're like there but you're not together at all. And like that's like the 3 ways kids play.
And it's only 3 things.
Yeah, it's just like, and but even that will show like the past of your life, you know, because like the first category is you're actually a pretty social person, and that sends you on a trajectory. The other category is like you like social interaction, but you also have like a little bit of independence and you're comfortable with it. And the third one is like maybe you're a little avoidant, and that sends you on a different trajectory. But it's like it's pretty crazy about how like even like styles of play in early age like puts you into a box that like is pretty like long lasting. Like it's a pretty good predictor of your future. So it's like your introverted people probably fell into the category in like kindergarten
very early.
We're already introverted.
That's wild.
I know.
They talk about that in a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
I haven't heard of it.
It's one of my favorite books. It's called Outliers. It basically talks about like why successful people are successful, or why athletes are athletes.
Yeah.
And it kind of breaks it down into like stuff like that. Like it can be something as simple as you have 2 kids, both of them are in the car heading to the doctor.
Yeah.
One of their family dynamics is the mom turns around in the back seat and goes, "Hey, we're getting ready to go to the doctor. He's going to ask you a couple questions, and this is going to be your opportunity to ask him anything about your body that you may, be wondering.
Yeah.
Just ask him anything that you're wondering. And then the other person or the other kid in the other car, the mom doesn't ask them that. So they show up to the hospital. It's the same exact situation. They go through the same process. And the doctor asks the kid in the first situation, like, hey, this is going to be my favorite part of the, appointment. Like, do you have any questions for me? And the kid looks at his mom, and mom's like, yeah, ask him, right? And he looks at the doctor, and he's like, yeah, well, I have like these bumps on my armpit or whatever. Regardless, the kid actually has the conversation with an adult. He's subjecting himself, and he's like, has the confidence to actually have the conversation with somebody that's much older. Yeah. And then the other kid, same situation. The doctor asks him, and he looks at his mom, and he gets shy. He doesn't ask anything at all. Mm-hmm. But it basically breaks it down in the same exact situation. One has a different path of like confidence, and then the other one is going to be shy and a little bit more introverted. So and they end up completely different.
One of the most famous studies, it's called the marshmallow test. And
the kids.
Yeah, with the kids. And you get one marshmallow. If you wait 5 minutes to eat it, you get another one. The kids who waited the 5 minutes, and this study I think was done in like the early 80s, so now they have like 40 years of like longitudinal research where they're able to follow up with the people. The kids who waited for the second marshmallow, which basically displayed that they can wait on like delayed gratification, they're not impulsive. They are like in happier marriages, more highly educated, and just report a higher level of happiness and success than the kids that like ate the marshmallow right away. And like even like the kids, there was a handful of kids who would like pick at the marshmallow and like eat it, like cheat a little bit, and like even that was in a different category than the kids that were able to just sit there and wait.
Wow. If you don't know the study that he's talking about, basically they put a kid in a room with a desk and they put a marshmallow in front of him, and the adult leaves the room and is like, hey, I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to come back in 5 minutes. If you don't touch or eat this marshmallow, I'm going to give you another one.
Right.
And then they leave the room and they just watch him.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, watch him from a camera.
Yeah.
And like I think it's literally 40 years now, 40 years old. So these kids that were 5 are now 45, and they're able to like trace like their whole life. And it's like, it's a pretty consistent study that the kids who are able to wait are just doing a lot better.
That's so weird, man.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as a child, you have basically already developed enough of your habits or your mental that's basically can describe the person that you will be later on in life. Unless something drastic happens along the way, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's always things that will change the trajectory, good or bad, like.
Because things can change. You can move to a different school. You have different peers. You can not go to school at all. Something can happen. There's always so many different situations.
And there's the reality of like a kid could have ate or waited for the second marshmallow, but like parents died, like it's not really changed the trajectory of things.
Yeah.
Granted, you're probably still in a better category than if you were like the impulsive kid that ate it right away and your parents died.
Right.
But like there's always things that could lift you up or pull you down. And that's just about being resilient, and resilience is something that's hard to teach too, so, which I also think that tests a little bit is resilience.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's crazy you brought that up, man. I was thinking about that. I love studies like that.
Yeah.
And when I was getting ready to graduate high school, I wanted to either be a chef or I wanted to go into psychology. Mm-hmm. For that being, I think it's really interesting just kind of seeing why people do the things that they do or think the way that they do.
Yeah.
And usually it's because of situations, right?
Yeah.
Home life, I feel like, is probably really big. But there's so many different things can happen to people.
Yeah. And that's really important that I appreciate you bringing up the home life thing, because something I coach my parents on a lot, like the parents I work with, not my parents. But maybe
you guys fucked up here. You guys did this wrong. You guys could have, I just wanted a haircut, man.
Yeah.
I just, you didn't give me a haircut.
Well, it would come off really ungrateful if I said it to them, because like basically what I tell the parents I work with is that like parents of good kids take way too much credit and parents of bad kids take way too much blame, because there's so many environmental factors that attribute to who you become and other things. And like you think about it, if you're the typical kid, you're in high school and you play a sport, you're at school and with other people more than you are with your parents, like how much of an impact are you actually having as a parent? And I mean, bullying, cyberbullying, like drug use and things like that. So many things parents couldn't know, even if they were like helicopter parents. And like the most strict parents create the sneakiest kids, So it's like, I really try to have compassion for the parents, saying like, guess what? Like, I guarantee his siblings are doing a lot better than he is. You know, it's not your parenting that sucked. It's like a combination of a lot of things. And I relate it to something that happened to me. I had like a pretty bad allergic reaction at one point, but I don't have any allergies. And basically what the doctor at the ER, I went to the ER because it was so bad. I was like breaking out in hives and like I felt my throat closing. I was like, this isn't good. So I went to the hospital, and what they told me is that you can have a lot of micro allergies. And if you are subjected to like 6 or 7 of them at a time, it can add up and have an allergic reaction, where if it was just one of them, you wouldn't. And it's kind of like the same thing with like parenting and kids. Like sometimes there's just a combination of like 40 different things going on that like a kid, one of the siblings goes down a really dark path, but the 4 other siblings are completely fine, you know? So like, I always try to have compassion for parents who have a kid where like other people are probably going to be like, oh, like that's a horrible parent, because it's like probably not. And when parents have great kids, I always just gas them up. Like, yeah, you're a great parent. Like, you did everything. But that's why I wouldn't, because like most of my siblings, we all have bachelor's degrees. We all have like pretty good jobs. And like, I never say to my mom, like, you know, like good parents take too much credit. Like you didn't really do that much, you know? But yeah, so that's why I said it would sound a little ungrateful if I said that to them. But yeah, like parents of kids that are like problematic or bad, like I always have a lot of compassion for, because it's such a judgmental world. Like a story I have about like when I reached out to someone who I saw struggling, it was this dad at a hotel, and he had a kid who was like very severe on the autism schedule or spectrum, like pretty close to the kid I worked with, like clearly nonverbal, like couldn't feed himself. And we were at the hotel and he was just screaming. And like the dad was a beast. The dad was doing like everything I was trying to do, like de-escalation, calm him down, like give him options and things like that. And I went over to the dad and I was like, hey man, like the work you're doing with that kid, I didn't know if it was a son or not. So I was like, I just said the kid. I was like, the work you're doing with that kid is really impressive. And the dad actually broke down crying. He was like, you're the first person to ever say something nice to me about my kid. And like,
damn, dude.
Yeah, because he was straight up. He was like, dude, I get judged everywhere I go. And like, and the sad thing was he was actually a beast with it too. Like you could tell that he actually put a lot of energy into learning how to deal with that population. Wow. And like he was really good with it, but it's just a hard population to work with. And like he legit broke down like in like the continental breakfast room, like about yeah, I was like, dude, like, and I think it was like tears of joy or like maybe frustration about like the world, but that was a pretty special moment. I'll definitely remember that for a long time.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's badass, dude. That is really inspiring.
Yeah.
You definitely have put yourself in a position to really help a lot of people. So that's amazing,
seriously.
dude. Congratulations. I'm glad that you found that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
not always easy, killer. But it's
dude.
Definitely.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and like one of the most rewarding things I ever had was I had a teenager tell me that he's no longer suicidal because of me, you know?
Wow.
Like, I'll hold on to that for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's something that like I don't get paid the most. I have a ton of student debt, but it's like that's something that
No, you should. You should have like a
Well, that's
get
like
yourself
what?
No, I was just gonna say a joke.
Oh, jeez. No, I was just gonna say that that's like truly inspirational because, I mean, I don't know. Not only are you like going into this to kind of like make a career out of it, but you're actually kind of putting that aside, and it's like I'm wanting to help people. So
yeah,
that's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely a passion. The honest truth is I'm smart enough to do another job that pays a lot more. Like, I mean, that's just like, and like my boss says the same thing about themselves too. It's like you would, like, I mean, I really don't get paid that well.
Right. You basically have to choose to be there.
Yeah.
You're there because you want to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
And like, yeah. So like I easily, like, I don't want to sound like arrogant, but I know I could have been an engineer if I wanted to do engineering in college.
Yeah.
You know? My brother's an engineer and like he did it. And like, I also would have had like a free tutor 24/7, you know? So like, and I graduated undergrad with like a 3.9 in grad school. Also, I got 1 A- in grad school. So I had like
Dude, that's killer. Yeah.
3.99.
Oh,
dang.
And actually the A- felt so good because like I was striving so hard for perfection in grad school of like trying to graduate like number 1 and 4.0. And like, granted, it literally doesn't matter. When I finally got that A-, it was like such a burden lifted off my shoulders of like, I can finally relax. Like the 4.0 is gone, like, and it's a good thing. So.
Yeah.
And there's something about that, man. And I feel like that's something about you. You seem like a perfectionist, like in the best way possible. Like, which is good. I mean, that's got to be amazing for your career.
Yeah.
And even in the small, like you've made comments like, well, we're rolling in jiu-jitsu and stuff, or like you're trying to hit something and like it doesn't work or whatever, but right away you're like, dude, what was I doing wrong? You're like, well, why couldn't I finish that? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No, I like to think out loud too. So.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've fallen into that. I definitely, I grew up with a lot of anxiety. I thought I had like really bad stomach problems growing up because I always had stomach aches, but like through like just knowing what anxiety is, I realized like, holy shit, like I had a lot of symptoms of anxiety, like all through.
You just carry it?
Yeah. And like, I just like dealt with it, but like it presented itself in like stomach aches. Like that was usually the first sign. But yeah, like I always had a stomach ache in like middle school and high school. And,
Damn,
like,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Well, no, like, yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting. Your brain, well, your physical symptoms of like emotions, you could pick up on faster than your brain sometimes noticing them. So like if I'm clenching my jaw or like my fists or something like that, I'll realize, am I stressed right now? Like, it's like the first question I'll ask. And like, I'll be like, oh shit, I am, you know? But like, it's the same with like, the stomach aches. Like I'll have like even to this day I'll have stomach aches,
like
and I'm
tightness.
like, I'm like, am I anxious right now? And like, I mean, sometimes I eat Taco Bell, but sometimes I'm just anxious. You know? But yeah, no, like that actually does. There's a lot of merit into knowing how your body physically reacts to certain things and paying attention to them, because often that sheds a light on something going on quicker than your brain will actually pick up on it. So. I coach my kids on like just knowing like what does it feel like when you're getting angry, and we know that anger is a big trigger for relapse. So like if we can pick up on that sooner than later, it's way better. So physical symptoms are definitely a big deal in mental health for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's got to be something. Jesse brought up literally that exact same point.
Yeah.
When he was talking about he had to go to therapy for something. I think it was for the rape thing. And he brought up that exact same thing. So there's something, something big about that.
Yeah.
And I've also, I think I like read something like an article that was talking about feeling nervous, and then the feeling of excitement is actually the exact same feeling. So it's like, it's kind of like knowing how to control. It's like, am I nervous or am I excited?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's really funny you say that, because at my job we have a meditation instructor that comes on. And he's like, he is the Buddha. And
what? Wait.
I mean, that's a joke. But like he knows about Buddhism like a black belt knows about jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
You know? Like he's like definitely very knowledgeable. And he was saying that like how excitement is fear, you know, and they're just on different ends of the spectrum. And things are excited because they're a little inconsistent, and inconsistent or unpredictability is fearful, you know? So yeah, I mean, he was talking to me about that like last week actually. So that's kind of interesting. You brought that up.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
very cool.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy.
I actually, I told my buddy Bennett about me coming here today, and he's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and he has a PhD in clinical psychology, and he said he would love to come on here.
Oh, right.
That'd be killer.
Yeah.
I'll have to get his information. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the man. He moved into a cul-de-sac in Greeley, and basically none of the neighbors talked to each other and knew each other's names. And within like 4 months of him living there, all the kids play together. And like he's like unified this neighborhood.
Wow.
Like he's just like the master at social skills. And like honestly, I think you'd have a lot of fun.
I love that.
Dang. Yeah, we're gonna have to have him on.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's done a couple podcasts too, so I think that he's like pretty up to speed on like what to do.
Yeah.
But, and he was in the Marine Corps, and he was a D1 football player too. So he's just had a pretty crazy life.
Shit.
Wow,
Okay.
interesting.
Okay, I like that.
So I'll tell him if you guys are interested.
Yeah,
Yeah,
heck
yeah.
yeah. Literally, let him know. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's funny you say that, man. I mean, when I first brought up the podcast and you were there, and the first thing you said, you're like, dude, like your cadence is amazing. Like you guys' words per minute, I like it. Like it seems like you guys have more experience than what it seems like.
Yeah.
You said that, and I was just like, fuck, man. Like, maybe we need to have you on the fucking podcast. Like, we can learn some shit.
I was paying attention to your body language when we first started. You're a little jittery. So.
I know. That's like one thing that I was like, okay, he studies people. So I'm like trying to like stay all.
And honestly, now that you say that, that's something that's been one of the biggest pet peeves I've developed while we've started this podcast, because when I go on and I'm editing all the footage, I go to this camera right here, and this camera shows all of us. Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of the time while I'm sitting here, I'm like moving.
Yeah.
And
that's become one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm like, would you stop shaking your leg?
And growing up, my parents would always yell at me. Cindy's yelled at me for as long as I can remember, and I never notice it. But now that I've been editing all the footage and I'm seeing myself do it, it bothers me.
Well, it's also when you're talking.
So much.
I don't know if you noticed that, but it's when you're talking.
Dude.
So.
He's trying so hard not to shake.
I am so hard.
I mean, but it's also, I've been doing it too. I mean, I do this, but I mean, also I believe that, I mean, Joe Rogan hides behind a table. Like, I'm sure his legs are fidgeting, things like that. I mean, he normally will sit like this or like that, but like having a table is like a pretty big advantage where you're not seeing his whole body.
Like maybe that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is an advantage for sure. Just because it is covering like a lot of his body. But yeah, I did notice that pretty early on. It definitely got lighter throughout the time.
What does that mean?
I mean, that's probably just like a sign of uncomfort, or like.
I feel pretty comfortable though.
Yeah.
Like that's what's weird. Like I don't feel nervous.
Yeah. But also,
I was excited to talk to you about this because I just wanted to pick your brain about
what
some
if it's
things.
like adrenaline? It's like, you know, you're like really like in the zone.
Damn it, I have
I'm
a
not
fucking
sure.
problem.
But it also could be that you are so used to it because it's something you've done your entire life that you don't notice that it is a little anxiety too. Like it's something you've just habituated and like been forever. But honestly, I mean, I do it too. Like,
That bothers me.
It's not a big deal. I mean, it's pretty normal, you know, like most people do it. And like, honestly, when I do therapy, I have like putty. Like I literally putty the whole time. Like I'm definitely a mover.
I was fucking reading about it, dude, before we did this podcast. Like over the weekend, I was like reading. I was like, what do therapists do? Like, what do they look for? And the first thing it said was body language. And I thought about it. I was like, all right, I need to try not to like.
Yeah. Well, there's one of the biggest therapists, Gestalt. He talked about how you can watch a therapy session on mute and get a ton of information from it. And he was basically like just reading the body language between the therapist and the client. Like you can get like, oh, this is probably going well. Oh, this is like really hard for the client to talk about. Oh, the therapist is like kind of stumped on what to say right there and things like that. And
I think body language is amazing, dude.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the documentary on, forgetting his Chris Watts?
No, I don't think so.
You seen that? So here in Colorado, a couple years ago, this guy, he works in the oil field in Platteville, so not that far from here, maybe like 20 minutes from here. He basically was having an affair and went to talk to his wife about it. Something happened. They had a fight. He killed her in the bed.
Wow.
Kids come out. What's wrong with mommy? Loads them all in the car. Puts the dead mom in the backseat of the truck. Puts the kids up there while they're still alive, right? The mom's dead. Drives an hour out to a well site. Buries the mom, puts the two little girls into a well. Wow. The wellhead's like 8 inches.
This happened here in Colorado probably a couple years ago. Like
there's a Netflix documentary on it, and they somehow, dude, it was like perfect because the wife was like super blogger, and she like has a million videos and everything. So they put the text up on it, all the videos. They put body cameras from like the cops showing up and trying to investigate and all that stuff. They go to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor has like a house camera, and they see him pulling in the truck, and the neighbor's like, dude, he never does this.
Yeah.
And that's when you can see like the dude starts freaking out. Like you could tell he's like
his body language is like it's crazy. Like you can tell that he's just like up to something.
So there's a video on YouTube with this guy who's like some kind of investigator, and he studies body language, and he's talking through him and the way he's reacting through everything, and it's amazing just breaking it down. Like it makes so much sense like when someone's explaining things.
Yeah. Well, even what Danny talks about when like he's just like put your hands up if you're in like an inter or altercation, and it's just
you
like
told me about it.
like
I was just telling them about that the other day.
Like, because even on camera, you know, that's something they look for.
So I don't want to fight.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight.
Yeah. Like, throw a front kick and
I don't want to fight you.
Yeah, no, body language is definitely key. I mean, I read a book. It's called Never Split the Difference. It's about like a hostage negotiator. in the FBI. He's like the leader in it now. And like when he started, it was very like confrontational, and basically they become like therapists now, where it's just like they try to like really de-escalate, calm things down. And the amount of hostages that have like lost their life has like gone down like tremendously, since they were like way more therapeutic and way less like
violent.
Yeah, like military.
Alpha male kind of style.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good book. I actually gave it to some of the kids I work with just because like it's funny. Like a lot of it is like tools I use on them. Like one of like the easiest ones is like reflective listening, where it's like yeah, I was really upset when so and so said that, and like a therapist would be like, "Oh, you were really upset, huh?" And like, yeah, then they just dive into it deeper, and that's just like reflective listening.
Or like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Is usually what.
Well, kind of. That's just like another open-ended question. But like, if I said, "How do you feel about that?" They'd be like, "Well, I'm kind of upset, but like maybe something else." But if I really wanted them to focus on being upset, then I would just be like, "Oh, upset. I wonder how that affects you when you're like, what is it like for you when you're upset?" You know? And it's just like, I'm really just repeating their question back to them, but it makes them go into it deeper, and things
Basically
like that.
get down to what the actual issue is.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like the why question, right? The why. There's a word for that, but it's basically the same kind of deal, right? It's like, I'm upset. Well, why are you upset? Well, I'm upset because they took my ball. Well, why did they take the ball? And it's like, well, they took the ball because we're playing this game. And it's like, well, why are we playing the game in the first place?
Yeah. I try to stay away from why questions typically. Because when you ask a kid, like, why'd you do that? Sometimes it comes off like pretty aggressive.
So kind of blaming
argument
them.
pissed.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, why'd you tap me that way? You know, like, like why'd you hurt that dude?
Damn it.
But no, it's like when that person fell, like what was going on in your brain is a lot different than why'd you do that, you know? So like that's the same thing with like almost anything. Like if I'm a police officer, I'm like, why'd you run that stop sign? Like it's already like a little hostile, and it's like, did you not see the stop sign, or what's going on? Like,
Right.
Very different
sense.
conversation. So
that's almost like de-escalating it before you're already de-escalating it.
Yeah. So like I'm actually trained not to do why questions. Granted, I still use them because they are effective, and like sometimes I wanna get a kid angry. You know, sometimes like I often tell the kids like, if I am telling you what you want to hear, I'm probably not doing my job well, you know? So sometimes I have to stir the pot a little bit. It's like, dude, what you did was wrong, and this is why. And like, that's probably not the most therapeutic, but sometimes it's what they need to hear, and that might open the door to like a more therapeutic conversation.
Is there anything in specific that you want to do before you get to where your kind of career goals are? Like, is there some specific kind of like job type that you want to be involved in before you kind of dive into your other opportunities that you're looking for?
I mean, I would like to work wilderness therapy, like where you're actually like in the woods camping with kids. Like I think that sounds pretty cool.
Because it's more isolated, or is that more because it's like just because it's different, you're a little bit more involved, you're out there, you're kind of experiencing some things that you want to be a little bit more involved with, like just being outside?
Really all of that. I mean, like I said, like I don't like the office therapy. Like I would rather be in the woods. Like it's more casual, you know? Like I feel like in the office seats, it's like super professional.
Yeah.
Also, some of those jobs are pretty rigorous, where it's like 8 days on, 6 days off. So it's like, I mean, you're only working like half the year, but like you're there. And if you have kids, you know, like
You're involved. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And that's, I think, why I was asking. I was like, are you ever off? Because it's like, if you're that deep, are you basically like on call?
I am not. Basically, my boss is on call, and if she's really stuck, she can call me. But I have 2 phones, so I turn my work phone off like after work and like on weekends. But she has my personal phone number in case it is something like it's like, oh shit, we should get Emerson involved. But that's pretty rare. And I mean, she's also a therapist, so she's pretty skilled. But like, if I have a rapport with a kid that she doesn't, and she's like, this is probably just an Emerson thing to handle, we can do that. But I don't know. I think that wilderness therapy is something I really want to do before I have kids, if I have kids. On the other side of that, like when my kid's like in college, I could probably do it again, but like there's really no way to do that, in my opinion, when you are like when you have a school age kid, you know, like K to 12, like it's probably not the most realistic to be gone for a week at a time.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I'd like to do that. I don't really know. Like I always wanted to, if I had a master's in social work, I'd probably be in the military right now as an Army social worker. The issue is like, it's basically the same degree as my degree, but like for whatever reason, the master's in social work is more accepted than the master's in counseling psychology, which is what I have. But yeah, there was a while where like I was actually looking at the military programs where you can like, they'll pay for your master's in social work and then you just owe X amount of years afterwards. And same as like the PhD, like to be an Army psychologist, where they'll pay X amount of years for you to do your PhD, but then you owe X amount of years afterwards. But I've always been interested in like pursuing a PhD. Like I've my little brother's a veteran. Like I'd say 4 out of my 5 best friends are veterans, and the 5th is the guy who had seasonal affective disorder, where he like got rejected by the military for it. So like almost like all my closest people are military people. And my boy Goggins and Jocko.
And my
boy. But yeah, so I and like the suicide in veterans is absurd, you know. So if I could help that cause, that'd be something cool. But I mean, a PhD, and for me, it would be 5 years of school, and then like sometimes you owe like 1.5 years per year for like the military. So if the military paid for 5 years, I would owe 7.5 years, and like so I wouldn't finish till I'm 35, and then I'm gonna be in the military till I'm like 42. You know, that's like, it's still tempting, honestly, because I think it's badass and it pays a lot, which is like cool, but
good benefits, all that stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's tough. I'm not that good at long-term 10-year commitments, you know. Like I don't think too many people are, but yeah, I don't know. I have a handful of things. That's the nice thing about my degree, and it's also kind of the curse of it, where it's like I have so many options I can do that like it's awesome, but having that many options always makes me second guess what I am doing. Would I be happier if I was on the other patch of grass over there?
Right.
So
I feel like that never goes away. No matter what situation you're in, there's always the what ifs, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. You know, it's always.
Yeah. And it's really easy for me though too. It's like I could easily like just like I could work with adults right now, which would be very different. I could work with like little kids right now, which would be very different. It's like anytime I have a bad day, I have to remind myself to like wait 24 hours before I decide I'm mad. It's like, you know, like if I'm on a bad day, I'm going to wait 24 hours before I I tell myself before I determine how I feel about it, because I really feel like when something first happens, I feel way different about it than I wake up the next morning. So I'm just like, this isn't actually how I feel about it. This is how I think I feel about it right now. But I know when I wake up the next morning, it's a lot more consistent with how I'm going to feel about it moving forward. So, but when I have those bad days, like I'm telling you, I play like Twister with all the different places I could go. Like it's like spin the thing. It's like I could do that, or that. And it's kind of maddening sometimes. Like my resume is definitely up to speed all the time.
Oh my God.
It's like I'm ready. But yeah, no, it's definitely a cool field though. And like conversations like this are always fun. And I'm a hero at bars when I'm able to say more things.
At bars?
Yeah, like when I'm with like a bar with like friends and they're asking me like, what's the crazy thing that happened lately? Like,
I wanted to ask you those things, but I was like, fuck, I don't want to get him in trouble.
I can say some stuff.
Give me one okay story.
Oh man.
That's not going to get you in trouble.
Okay. Let's see. I worked with let me think how to say this. I worked with a kid, a 16-year-old girl, plus or minus a couple years. I'll keep it real ambiguous. Post-puberty girl. Okay. And she was taking a drug called Ritalin. I believe it was Ritalin. It was one of the ones that starts with an R. And basically, like, this medication was really popular. Not so much anymore, but it was making, like, boys grow, like, man boobs. And what they also found out was it could make girls lactate. So this girl found this out. I don't know how. She was in her room and then came out of her room like topless and starts trying to like squirt like boob milk at people.
What?
She's like literally running around like this.
What?
And, like, I swear to God. So like she's literally like, we sent all the kids to their rooms, and
Oh my
and I should
God.
say this is not my current job, so if anyone's looking to come to my current job, like, this is not this. So like, yeah, she's running around like literally squirting like boob milk at people, and we have to like
What the
lock her
heck?
in like the padded room. And,
What?
Yeah,
Oh my
because
God.
like I mean, it was pretty crazy.
How does that conversation go?
Well, she's like laughing like the Joker.
Because she thinks it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, and it's like making like staff throw up.
Oh my gosh.
So like, yeah, she was.
Who throws up from that, man?
I mean, have you ever been like squirted on by a teenage
No.
boob milk?
Oh, come on.
I mean, I don't, dude. As someone who was there, it was pretty throw up worthy.
Dude.
Oh my gosh.
But-
This is insane.
Yeah, but like things like that, like the impossibly like to believe. Like, I worked with a kid who his buddy snuck him in a hot pocket with LSD on it, but he was also taking antipsychotics. So the antipsychotics and the LSD fused together and basically made him the most angry creature
Oh my
in the
gosh.
universe. So he actually broke our seclusion room, which is like the padded room one, and like there's bulletproof glass so you can like see through it. He broke the glass out of the frame. So you can't break the glass, but like the frame that held it in like snapped out because he was like Spartan kicking it so much. So then like he was running around like punching everything, and both his hands broke to the point where they look like Mickey Mouse's gloves.
What?
And like that was actually probably the only time I've actually been scared at work. Like I was like, oh crap, like this kid is going ham. But yeah, stuff like that I've definitely witnessed.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's pretty insane.
But yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that. But in both those stories, those are both pretty extreme. And in that situation, it's about safety for others. So even for staff with the angry kid, what we did is we just let him destroy everything. We were like, I mean, we could
Really?
either like we sent all the kids to their room, which have like industry locks that like the kid wasn't trying to attack other kids.
Yeah.
So they all hid in their rooms, and we kind of just like waited it out until like our security team could come, and like they took him to another floor that had like an old school seclusion room that like he wasn't gonna be able to break out. So like the unit I worked on was like freshly renovated.
Are there like legalities that stop you from like apprehending him?
No, I've done so many restraints in my life. It's actually part of the reason I wanted to get my master's degree is because at the bachelor's level, I mean, there were days where I'd do 8 restraints a day, like literally.
Dude.
Like, it was like,
Wow.
and like,
Hence the jujitsu or what?
no, I mean, I was doing Muay Thai back then actually. But I was just doing Muay Thai for like mental health coping. Like it was just such a stressful job to work at. But obviously I'm not freaking head kicking a kid.
Oh my gosh.
That wheel kick to the dome?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, those were a little unethical. But yeah, so we yeah, I did a lot of restraints, and we basically always had a body button on us that you push and the alarm goes off, and it's all hands on deck. So kids go to the room, every other staff comes and helps out. And like being a guy in a female like primary job, you know, like, and being a big dude, like I was on like every restraint that happened on our floor.
Right.
So there are days where I wouldn't do any restraints, but I think the day I had the most restraints was like 8 in one day. And
That's
it's just
crazy,
like,
dude.
and it's an 8-hour shift, you know,
Wow.
so it's like 1 an hour.
Yeah. Dang.
Yeah, the kids basically agreed that they were going to have a riot, and like it lasted all day. And like our seclusion, we only had a seclusion room on like each wing of our floor, so we had to send kids to like other floors to go to their seclusion rooms and things
Wow.
like that. It was pretty gnarly. But yeah, I mean, basically for any job I have right now in my what I need to work there is like a guarantee that I don't have to restrain kids anymore. Just because like
you're like I'm past that. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean actually like it was pretty traumatizing for me. Like I would always shake after. Like I would literally go to the office and like be shaking. Like it's such like an adrenaline rush, and like I got sent to the ER a couple times, like kids biting and things like that. I'm like, this is that job. I'm getting paid $13 an hour to do this.
Yeah,
You know? And it's
right.
just like, dude, like
is it worth it? Type of thing. Yeah.
And it was one of those things too where I had really good rapport with the kids, and I would often have good relationships with them. And like some female staff that was like pissed off would piss off a kid attacks staff, and now I have to restrain the kid as like the staff runs away, and like that ruined my relationship with more than one kid, and like that was always really infuriating to me. But yeah, I won't restrain a kid anymore. Like unless it was really one-sided where a kid is like pummeling another kid, I would probably like stand between them. But like I'm not tackling a kid ever again. But yeah, that's part of the reason I got my master's degree. In Colorado.
Sounds wild, man. Holy shit.
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I have had to like step in between kids like trying to beat someone down, you know. Not at my current job, and not for like my last. Since I worked with a kid at the school for autism, have I had to step in and like actually do a restraint. But even at that school, it was like so much safer. Like we just had like the Muay Thai kick pads, and like we would just like box the kid in a corner. Like we weren't even hands on. But like at the other places I worked have been like hands on, and you're like, it's like supposed to be like 5-to-1. You're supposed to have like a person on like ankles, thigh, each arm, and like protecting their head so they can't like body slam or head slam on the floor. And like those restraints are pretty traumatizing for all involved. So
it just sounds intense.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I was young too. I was like 21 when I did that job, you know, and like that. I cut a noose off some kid's neck when I worked there. Like they were blue in the face, and like thankfully I was actually doing my job. Like cuz she was on 5-minute checks. So every 5 minutes you had to have eyes on her, but she was in the shower, and as a 21-year-old checking on a 17-year-old in the shower, it's like really awkward, but I would just go in there and be like, "Hey, poke your head around the corner." And the one time she didn't, and I go in there, and she's like, she has her jeans tied around her neck and like literally blue.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the hardest things I've ever dealt with in this career. I actually did therapy for that one. Like they offered me like free therapy after that one. But basically we have like, it's basically like the top of like a hanger for like hanging up clothes, and it's like a hook that you can slide like between and then like yank any like rope. But basically like I had to run to like the nurse's station to go grab it, because I knew like if I hit my button and like staff came running, I'd have to explain it, which would take longer. So I hit my button, I just like sprint full speed to like the nurse's station. Like I think it was like the fire alarm where you have to like break the glass to get the cutter out.
Gosh.
So I like did that, got the cutter and like cut it off. But like they didn't train me for how hard it is to cut jeans. like that was like,
especially if they're wet.
Yeah, I'm like yanking on her like neck's bouncing and stuff. And like she was fine, but I was not.
Yeah.
that was rough, man. So yeah,
Is that why you struggle choking me so hard?
Yeah. No, it's just like I can't.
That's crazy, dude.
That is really crazy.
I couldn't do that, man.
Yeah.
That would fuck me up for sure.
No, I mean, I couldn't either. You know, I did it for X amount of time. And I think like those kind of places really rely on people fresh out of college that can take a year of abuse and then just find the next person, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty crazy place to work though.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good segue. My last question that I have for you. I mean, if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice, I mean, maybe when you were still in high school, what would you tell yourself?
I wish that was an easy answer.
I don't think it's supposed to be.
I know, right?
Let's see. I would say that if you notice my body language, I just closed.
I know. I was literally just thinking about it. I was like, damn, he closed himself off.
Yeah, just got defensive.
Like the whole time you're like this.
Yeah, I'll open back up.
Forcefully.
Let's see. I would say that I would really try to emphasize on self-compassion. Like, what you hinted at with the jiu-jitsu, like, I think that I've always beat myself up a lot. Still do. And maybe even more than self-compassion, it's just compassion in general. Because, like, when I'm compassionate towards others, it just makes my life so much easier. But I'm, like, pretty good at compassion with others. Like, it's not something that I really have to work on. But self-compassion, even, like, to this day, is something that, like, imposter syndrome still a thing for me. It's like, man, like, I actually know I'm good at my job, but there are days where I'm just like, I'm fucking awful at this. I should quit, you know?
Do you think that's why you continue to do it, though?
I mean, I need a job is why I continue doing it. Like, honestly, dude, like, if I could not work, I would not work.
Yeah.
But so this isn't like some destiny thing. Like, one of my main goals is to eventually have a private practice where I'm my own boss and I'm working 25 hours a week, like 3 8-hour days and like an hour or two of documentation at the end of the week, and I'm done, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday off, and Sunday off, you know. I eventually want to be to a place where I'm working less days of the week than I actually am working. That's like literally like my main goal.
Right.
But yeah, self-compassion and compassion are key for me, and in high school especially. I also think that I wish I would have talked to my social worker a lot sooner, because I mean, he basically, like, my self-esteem was so low, like, when I quit the football team, and like, I didn't think I was smart. I didn't think I was like a high achiever. I didn't think I could do a lot of things. And like, talking to him is like what set me up to getting my GPA up good enough to go to college, which like got me into like grad school to where I am right now. But literally, I mean, the timeline before that conversation to where I am now is a completely different trajectory. Like, if I would have never talked to him, I couldn't imagine where I'd be at today. Like, he really, I think I talked to him 3 times for less than an hour each time, and like, it literally changed my life. So I think also just reach out for help, you know, like, that's something that I've never been good at either. I'm definitely better at now. But like, life is fucking hard, and high school is hard. Like, everyone can relate to high school being hard. And like, there are a lot of people like me out there that want to help those people. So like, ask for help, you know? Yeah, compassion, self-compassion, and like humility enough to like ask for help when you need it.
For sure. I know. I think that's like one of the things that I struggled with, especially in high school, was to, like, I guess, get out of my comfort zone and ask for help, you know? So I feel like that's still like a forever going battle, I guess. But
yeah, well, everyone wants to think that they can handle it themselves, which the honest truth is humans are adaptable and they are resilient, so they probably can. But it doesn't mean it would have been easier or better like to do it that way, you know? Like, sometimes asking for help is the easier and better way to do it, and I recommend it.
For sure.
That's huge, man. Oh, I love that, man. I feel like there was a ton of gems in there.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like just in general, today's podcast is going to be, or is amazing. And I am so thankful that you guys got connected and we were able to get you on. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
I know. And I feel like we can just talk forever. I swear.
Seriously, I feel like I can go on this forever, dude. Seriously. I'm so interested in this, and it never ends. But yeah, seriously, dude, thank you so much for giving us the time. Honestly, I know it's kind of weird.
Thank you for having me.
Conversation.
Also, one last thing that I think is a great way to end is that there is research that shows that when someone gives you a compliment and you say thank you, dopamine is released in both people's brains. But if you're given a compliment and you're just like, nah, it's okay, like, whatever, neither person gets dopamine. So if anyone is still listening to like 2.5 hours in, it is really important that when someone gives you a compliment, you say thank you, not only for yourself, but to the other person.
Wow. Okay.
I love that.
There you go.
This was chill. Hell yeah, dude. Thank you, everybody, for whoever's listening. If you guys are still listening to this podcast, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys like this video, share it, subscribe it. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's a wrap.
Hell yeah. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
And goodbye.